Hi, friend.
How are you doing today?
Should I call you a friend? You have just stabbed me in the back.
Oh, well, I just enjoy breaking up relationships. I'm a homewrecker. You know this.
Like, I know they're brownish, but they don't look any kind of red at all?
No, but they are full brown. If anything, I would say they're brown-yellow.
Brown-yellow?
Yeah. There's, like, not a hint of red in those shorts.
Do you know what I'm going to do? The picture I just showed you, I just need it for my own benefit. I'll bring it up on Photoshop and look at, like, the color saturation, like, stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Look at you.
Thinking. My boyfriend thinks I'm colorblind.
I think you're colorblind.
Raven, the one example we gave, Raven agreed with him. The other example I gave, she agreed with me. It's tough.
Yeah. Not really,
because it's never come up in my life before.
Interesting.
Like, I can, you know those, like, tests where you can
severities.
Distinguish between colors and yeah, but this is, like, the only color. Yeah. Anyway, what music have you been listening to?
For the first time, like, ever, actually none.
Raven, me too. How boring is that?
I feel like this is
we're
a problem,
failing.
Given that, you know, the nature of this podcast. Because, like, all of my work has been, like, on the floor this week, and I've had actual work to do each evening, and for some reason, like, I don't really listen to music when I'm just working. I only listen to music when I'm, like, relaxing or driving or something like that. So yeah, like, zero music. I actually did not listen to a single song this weekend, or this entire week.
Which is funny, because I'm the opposite, because, like, last week I passed my candidacy exam in spring break for us now. I was like, thanks. And I was like, I'm actually going to take advantage of this week before, like, everything starts up again. Yeah. So I listen to music while I'm working, and I haven't been working, so.
I love that for you, though, that you've had this week off.
Yeah, I deserve it.
So, I guess we'll just talk about the musical then. This feels so weird. I don't like this.
What musical are we talking about today, Raven?
Well, Campbell, we are talking about Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, but not just any version of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Specifically, the one starring Brandy from 1997, aka the best one.
The ABC television movie.
Correct.
Cinderella.
TV play. It is fantastic. If you have not seen it, fucking how, and I'm very sorry for your childhood. Yeah, it is iconic. It's wonderful. And it's got literally so many people that are all amazing, and we'll go over them as we get into it. But in the meantime, let's talk about this drink.
I was going to say a little bit of background, just like Cinderella in general.
I just really want to taste the drink.
Yeah, same. Just like in, like, kind of the background, Cinderella has been told so many times.
So many times.
You know, like Brothers Grimm's fairy tales. That was published in 1812. There was kind of like an English, like French one by Charles Perrault in.
So that's actually I thought that was actually the
1697.
original fairy tale.
There was an earlier one.
Oh, you talking about the Greek one?
Well, I was going to say, before the French one, there was the Italian one by Giambattista Basile. In 1634, but yeah, the Greek one,
earliest known variant, yeah. So the earliest known variant was the story of Rhodopis, who was a Greek slave girl who married the king of Egypt. And this is a wild story. Did you actually read the plot
between
of their
7
version?
BC and 24 AD?
Did you read the plot of... So, listeners, okay. So, here's their story. It feels more wild than the actual Cinderella. So, this is the synopsis. When she was bathing, an eagle snatched one of her sandals from her maid.
Copyright!
Which is confusing, because it's like, if she's a slave girl, why does she have a maid? Anyway, an eagle snatched one of her sandals from her maid and carried it to Memphis, Tennessee, and while the king was administering justice in the open air, which I don't even know what that means, maybe was he executing someone? Anyway, the eagle, when it arrived above his head...
Memphis, Tennessee?
No, not Memphis, like Memphis, Greece. But I was making a joke, Campbell.
You frazzled me. That was just like, it was so ridiculous. I like wasn't sure if it was a joke anymore. I was just like, what sources are you using for this podcast? Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. So while the king...
Strabo did not write that.
So while the king was administering justice in the open air, the eagle, when it arrived above his head, flung the sandal into his lap. And the king, stirred both by the beautiful shape of the sandal, foot fetish, and by the strangeness of the occurrence, sent men in all directions into the country in quest of the woman who wore the sandal. And when she was found in the city of Naucratis, she was brought up to Memphis and became the wife of the king. So, relatively similar story, except these people had literally never met. And he just saw a sandal and was like, ooh, I want to meet the foot that wears this sandal. And then he did, and he married it.
So to go along with, this tale as old as time.
Yep.
Raven and I doing, we like to make our own drinks. But this time, instead of like taking turns, we like came up with some ingredients together. And then right now we have our own variations of it. So we're trying to perfect the cocktail throughout this podcast episode.
Yes.
So
we've each done our own ratios, and I think it would be fun if we taste it, see how we feel about our own, and then share what our ratio was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh.
I'm liking mine.
I love mine. It's definitely strong, but it's strong in the way that, like, I like my drinks to be strong, but it would probably be too strong for other people.
Yeah. Would you like to go first?
Yes. So, I had an original ratio for mine, but then when I made it, I was like, that's not enough drink. And so then I added more booze. So for mine, I did 3 ounces of almond milk. Oh, yeah. So the ingredients that we did were milk, brandy, amaretto, pumpkin puree, and maple syrup. So I did 3 ounces of almond milk, 2 ounces of brandy, 0.75 ounces of amaretto, 1 ounce of maple syrup, and about a tablespoon of the pumpkin puree. And I kind of like, I guess it's not a proper muddling because it, wasn't like sugar and stuff like that. But I basically mixed the puree and the maple syrup like in the glass, and then shook the liqueurs and the milk together in a shaker over ice, and then poured it over the puree mixture, mix that up, and then top that with whipped cream, sprinkle a nutmeg, and a cinnamon stick. And that's
so funny.
Delicious.
We did very similar things.
Ooh.
But the process was really different.
Okay.
I did 2 ounces of brandy, 1 ounce of amaretto, so I like bumped it up.
A little bit, yeah.
And I'm really liking that extra like almondy flavor. And then I did a tablespoon and a half of the puree, and just like a dribble of maple syrup.
Gotcha. See, I don't. That's why I continue.
I put all of those in a shaker over with ice,
okay.
including the puree. Shook that together, and then I poured that over ice in my glass, and then I put a splash of oat milk over that, then whipped cream and nutmeg.
Interesting. Yeah.
So very similar.
Yeah. I guess for me, like, I don't love pumpkin things. Like, I don't. I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin puree. So I added a little more maple syrup for like the sweetness. And I just I thought I would really like the creaminess of the milk. So that's why I added so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 3 ounces. I feel like that's like what mine ended up being.
Love that for us.
But the ratios are pretty much there. I just used more amaretto. And I used more amaretto, and then I used half a tablespoon more of the pumpkin puree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I like that we're so in sync. Love that for us. Also, a couple other notes that I forgot on the film background. It was also originally called, or not originally, but an alternative name for it is called the Little Glass Slipper. And the original Rodgers and Hammerstein musical was originally aired on TV in 1957. And then for this one, they just modernized the book to appeal to a more contemporary audience. So they modernized some of the the scores and stuff like that. But generally all of the music is still Rodgers and Hammerstein. It's just slightly zhuzhed up for like a modern generation.
And do you know who starred in it in 1957?
Oh, I do not.
Julie Andrews.
Love that for her.
Oh, man. Julie Andrews.
Amazing.
Julie
what hasn't Julie Andrews done?
Genocide.
Jesus Christ.
Am I wrong?
But, like, why did that need to be the answer?
I'm just...
Oh
it is technically correct.
Oh my gosh.
The best kind of correct.
Wild.
Yeah. Oh, and so we don't have a name for this drink.
Yeah, we were kind of floating a few, and to be quite honest, I forgot to think more about it. So...
Same. The one, we had like a backup one, but we can like take a moment now again. Because we're not going to be talking about Cinderella's story that much. There's too much to talk about in this movie. Oh, there's, you know, what Cinderella's about.
I have so many notes.
No. One option was a pumpkin whip.
Yes. Also something like a midnight ride.
Mm-hmm. A 1201.
I honestly, 1201 is growing on me.
Same. Yeah. My boyfriend came up with that one. 1201.
Yeah, I think
just 1201. A 1201.
Honestly, yeah, but like in quotation marks for some reason.
Yeah. That I don't know if I agree with that one. Frivolous punctuation is something I'm strongly against.
I love frivolous punctuation. It's the best kind of punctuation.
No, the best kind of punctuation for you is correct punctuation. Don't act like you're someone different. Don't act. You're just like, oh, so a whimsical, throwing, vocative commas everywhere. What a vocative comma is. I do hate a misplaced vocative comma. And you're passionate about it. Yeah.
I do hate a misplaced vocative comma.
Why are you... You should have paid attention to this movie. You need to be you. And you're not being you.
Oh my gosh. Or like when people just like don't understand how to use punctuation. It's like your sentence wouldn't be a run-on sentence if you used punctuation correctly, but because you were stupid and decided
the power
not
of the semicolon.
Semicolons are amazing. They were invented for a reason.
I think they're my favorite punctuation.
Yeah, honestly.
See, frivolous punctuation doesn't make sense coming out of your mouth after everything you just said. So I would like to apologize to our listeners. Yes.
Never.
But I want you to be true to yourself. I don't want you to lie to yourself. And more importantly, I don't want you to lie to me.
Hi everyone, this is Raven and Campbell from Musicals, and we'd like to talk to you today about a nonprofit music education group that we are partnering with.
Yep, we'd like to talk to you about Education Through Music. They partner with under-resourced schools to provide music as a core subject for all children. And they utilize music education as a catalyst to improve academic achievement, motivation for school, and self-confidence.
Exactly. So they work with 52 different partner schools throughout New York City, and they work with them to institute sustainable music education programs by hiring qualified teachers, matching them with the school, and really equipping the teachers with the tools to succeed and be able to provide quality music education to all of the students attending that institution. So we think, from this podcast, we think it's incredibly important to provide music education to all children, that everyone should have access to it to help, really instill those lifelong passions that have been so influential for Campbell and I. So we believe that supporting this organization is the way you can support our podcast.
Yep, and you can do so by going to give.etmonline.org/boozicles. Again, that's give.etmonline.org/boozicles. And yeah, you can really help these kids if that's what you're into.
Support the youths.
Okay. Shut up. Don't patronize me. Okay.
I don't need you.
Enjoy the episode. I'm done with this. Another cheers.
Cheers. Cheers for Whitney Houston opening this movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so my first note is, yes, Whitney Houston looking like a goddamn queen, literally opening the movie, and I love that for her.
The fairy godmother, Whitney Houston. And fun fact, they were trying to do this movie earlier on with Whitney Houston, with her
as Cinderella,
playing Cinderella.
Okay.
But it was taking so long to happen that also Whitney Houston was one of the main influences to getting that, wanting Brandy a part of this.
That makes sense.
Was very vocal that she wants Brandy a part of this production.
Yeah. And Brandy ended up being the first black girl to ever portray Cinderella on screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Whitney Houston, she's been other movies and like acting things she's been in, The Bodyguard, The Preacher's Wife. What's your favorite Whitney Houston song?
Ooh, ironically, it's not my go-to karaoke song, which is Greatest Love of All.
Yep.
My favorite Whitney Houston song? Honestly, I think So Emotional. It's just such a fun bop.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of her music is. I'm very basic with this.
Is it Dance with Somebody?
No, it's How Will I Know?
Oh, that's such a good song.
It's such a good shoulder song.
Yeah.
See, what you do now? Yeah, see, that's it. That's it. Raven, you did it. Good job. So she's our fairy godmother. And so we have this wonderful intro that, like, you know, there's some, like a little medley of the songs that we'll be hearing throughout the musical. And then we get into... Oh, yeah, she does, like, a quick overview of, like, the story of Cinderella.
Yeah, and then we get into, like, the opening credits. And I know we keep bringing up From Justin to Kelly. But, like, watching this, I literally couldn't help but think, like, this is just so much better. Like, this is how you do opening credits.
And see... Yes, and it's, like, disappointing, because From Justin to Kelly, was that in 2001, 2000?
I think so, yeah. 4 years after this.
Yes. So, because other musicals was like, this opening credits, like, so, there you were born.
This is the year I was born. So I thought of that.
This was the year you were born, yeah. So, listeners, if you're trying to get,
9/11
steal identity,
Kelly is what I'm hearing.
September 11th, 1997 is Raven's date of birth.
Correct. Also, I think we just confirmed that 9/11 caused From Justin to Kelly caused 9/11. I think that's...
Well, when did it come out? Presumably during the
Before,
summer.
Yeah. So it caused 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is...
That might be disrespectful. I'm sorry.
It's fine. We're leaving it in.
It's been 20 years. Okay. Oh my god, it's been 21 years. People born after 9/11 are old enough to drink.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that we've looked at, obviously, movies and musicals like after From Justin to Kelly, and we're like, yeah, this is a better way to do opening credits. This movie happened before, and there's a lot of things about this movie. It's just, like, so 90s with special effects that I'm just like, even more so, there's no excuse.
There's no excuse for Justin to Kelly.
The Drake and Josh clip art, word art... opening
literally word art, but
credits
specifically
that From Justin Kelly, like the one of the billboards, it was like facing no one, just the audience. That's not how billboards work.
That's not how billboards work. Also, like a billboard on a beach. Anyway, what I like about these, I hate you. What I like about these credits specifically, like, there's something about the way they do it where, like, it's going over
9/11 this episode.
It's going over, like, the marketplace, and, like, the music is playing and people are milling around and stuff like that. And so it's actively beginning the story. Like, you're not having to wait for the story to start, but it's not detracting from the credits. Like, neither one is distracting from the other. And I just love the way they balance that. It's just so perfect.
Yeah, it's just so 90s. And I loved in the opening credits, they made sure, because there's a lot of big names in this, a lot of, great people, they're like, your opening credits, in alphabetical order, do not come at us, this is alphabetical order. And then later on, they have, like, the other credits, and, like, Whitney Houston is first, then Bernadette Peters. Yeah. And they're like, this is how we view
We understand. But also, I see Bernadette Peters, she deserves to be up there. Give her her dues.
Bernadette Peters.
She's so... Her voice...
I think...
You can really hear the Sophie in this performance.
I think by our episode 50, I'll figure out who's been in the most episodes, actor-wise.
Ooh, that'll be cool. Yeah.
I got the data.
Love that.
I took the notes.
Okay. So we get past opening credits and we're in, like, this marketplace. Love the colorblind casting. It's super fun. It was interesting because one of the...
that's also a big thing about, like, this production.
And the colorblind casting. And will sort of play into, like, the question I ask at our discussion question at the end today. But one of the notes that, like, was given by one of the critics for this movie was that, like, it was actually a really good choice to have full colorblind casting, like across the different, like across the entire cast, as opposed to like just having Brandy as Cinderella, because they were like, that way you avoid kind of like disturbing appearance of having an African American Cinderella being constantly like degraded by a white stepmother. But like,
yes,
we also have Whoopi Goldberg as a literal queen who has a white husband and an Asian son, so it all works out.
There's just one part that doesn't quite work with this, but I'll bring that up later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, so we see like the town. The costuming is so good.
Yeah, it's so good. And
don't you just want to dress like that and go to a fair?
So I would love to. I honestly, truly want to go to a
Bernadette
Renaissance
Peters'
fair.
ball gown would look so good on you.
Oh my god,
that, like,
I love
deep
her
purple.
ball gown. I love that. But there's something about this set that's like, and this is something that I really think the 90s just nailed, is this set is simultaneously cartoonish and actually really, really cool. Like, it's like, yeah, it's so campy, yeah. And it's like, and it almost feels like, did you ever go to Disney World or Universal Studios and go to like the Dr. Seuss land? I forget which park it's in. Yeah.
It's Universal Studios.
Universal Studios,
in Orlando, Florida.
Like, this set doesn't look like Dr. Seuss land because it wouldn't, but like there's something, it has that same vibe where like it's
like Halloween Town.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's definitely like a fantasy element to it.
There's a fantasy set.
Yeah, and this movie is actually categorized as a musical fantasy television play.
Even though it does take place in our planet Earth with the countries we know.
Yeah. It's a little weird.
Yeah, which was like kind of weird. I was like, what country are they in? Because like this is our world. Yeah. It has been established with what they're saying.
Yeah, so then we see Brandy, we see her, we see Cinderella.
Okay, we see, well, first we see the stepmother, played by Bernadette Peters. She doesn't have a name, it's just the stepmother.
Yeah.
Would like to make that clear. Some other things Bernadette Peters has been in, I've repeated myself so many times because she's been in so many of the things we've talked about, but she's also been in The Jerk, American Playhouse, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Yep. Extraordinary Playlist.
It could be pronounced either way.
She's great.
Yes. She's amazing.
Some of those notes she hits.
Oh my gosh. Because
a lot of times, I mean, she's the antagonist of this film. Mm-hmm. One of the antagonists of this film. And so a lot of, I feel like, quote-unquote villain songs are either super, like, campy or super commanding. And she does both in this.
She does both.
Like, I sent you a TikTok about Jinx Monsoon singing Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Yes. Which is sort of
and
similar.
I just want to bring it up because it was incredible.
So good. So good. But I really love Bernadette Peters singing in this because I feel like she has a perfect like vocal warble, I guess is the best way I can describe it. Like she just because it's more than vibrato. Like it's different than vibrato, you know? And she has such good vocal control that I just amazing. And she does hit
and she has some notes. She has some cutting lines. Like, did you really just say that to a person? There's so many times I wanted Brandy to just punch her in the face. I was like, you can't say that. She was like,
she said, but I can, and I did.
She was like, oh, why are you talking to me? Your mom's dead, and Dad said too.
Literally. It's just like, oh,
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Cinderella? What are you gonna do? You're gonna turn to your parents? They're dead. You can't. Like, whoa, Bernadette. We also see the stepsisters, who are so much fun. We have Calliope, played by Vianne Cox, who's also been in Smash, Aaron Brockovich, Indoor Boys. Fun thing, because I think it's really fun when these really kind of like comic relief characters all act all silly and stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when they're dancing. She did study ballet at the Washington School of Ballet.
That's dope.
And she definitely gave like me and my boyfriend like Christine Baranski vibes.
I can totally see that. See that.
And which is just a huge compliment to you, Vianne Cox. And then Natalie Giselle Reed, who plays Minerva, who's been in Baps. She Mickey, like opposite Halle Berry. She has been in so many episodes of Eve. She was in For Your Love, Medea's Big Happy Family, and a incredible actor taken too soon.
Yeah.
Passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah. One thing I really, really like about their performance, so I personally think one of my favorite adaptations, I guess, of Cinderella that I've ever seen is Ella Enchanted. And I really love the portrayal of the stepsisters in Ella Enchanted because I feel like they were...
You love Lucy Punch.
Lucy Punch is
the stepsister.
Is the stepsister, first and foremost. But I really like adaptations that don't just make the stepsisters evil, but make them campy. You know, and I feel like I feel like all adaptations try to do that a little bit, but I feel like Into the Woods aired a little more evil. And here, like, it's easy to laugh both at and with them. You know, like at no point do I truly hate them, but like obviously I'm not rooting for them, but it's easy to laugh with them and at them, you know?
But like Into the Woods like was trying to be more grim, pun intended with
Yes. It which is also weird because it's not supposed to be. Like it's supposed to be like a comedy and like laughing and all that stuff, but the film was it happened.
Speaking of Bernadette Peters again, was a great witch. A great
Ours
witch.
are tricky.
Ours are tricky. Yeah, I have to grin. Ms. Silverstein taught me grinning and like thinking about that motion helps me pronounce ours correctly.
I love that. We love finding techniques that help us succeed.
God. Shout out to speech pathologists.
Facts.
Like
Hashtag
Kira.
I will say shout out to Kira Jarrell. Oh wait, we didn't start her last name. Shout out to Kira, who is our guest for...
Shout out to Kira Jarrell. Kira Marie Cecile Jarrell. Cecile
love her.
is her confirmation name because we're confirmed Catholics together. Her mom was a confirmation teacher, and we picked saints' names. She was Cecile, the patron saint of music, and I picked Patrick. Because like St. Patrick's Day.
Love that for you.
You see, intention was used for one of them, but not the other.
Not the other.
And that's me and Kira.
How does Brandy literally look beautiful as a country bumpkin?
Let's talk about Brandy. Brandy, Cinderella, Moesha Mitchell. Need to say more. Oh my god.
Also, the mom in Forbidden.
Yes, and
she sang
in Osmosis Jones, she's Leah.
I never knew that. Oh my gosh.
Also, in 2015, do you know what she was doing on the Broadway?
What was she doing?
Roxy Hart, Chicago.
God damn. I want to see that. Like, she definitely crushed that. She for sure crushed that.
She definitely did, and like extended like kind of like the production for it, and she was like did different revivals of it like years after.
I can really see her with like a cute little pixie like bob or something. No, Pixie and Bob are different, but like a pixie cut or a bob, like
Roxy. Great.
And that glitter, like she would. I heard.
Of course, I heard. Do you know who? I don't know if she's like preparing the role, like she got the role or wants to, but as Roxy Hart on Broadway.
No,
Pamela Anderson.
I can see that too.
I can see it too.
She did say she wanted to like do like more serious like theater and entertainment and stuff.
Because I like what I really love about the character Roxy. Like she does like the whole point of Roxy Hart, not the whole point, but like a facet of her is that she's not talentless.
No,
but
she's just
she is
not up to snuff.
Yes, she like. Not necessarily like needed that infamy to like be famous, but there was more. Her talent alone wasn't going to get her where she needs to be.
The infamy got her further faster than her talent alone would have.
Yes, and Pamela Anderson is very talented.
Yes, but also
I feel like
her
people
sexual appeal.
See her.
Yes,
people see her not as that. So I think that aspect of it. Like, makes a lot of sense. I think she'll be able to draw a lot of, views of her, like, counting her out for the character Roxy.
Yeah, and then she'll fucking crush it.
If that does end up being true, or I'm spreading fake news. And if that's the case, Pamela Anderson, You should be Roxy.
You should be Roxy.
Let's see how that's going.
I feel like she
but that also gets into the conversation about, like, you know, on Broadway, these, like, you know, bigger name people with established careers, like, and, like, in these roles and stuff, and they're obviously going to do a good job, but sometimes it would be nice for, like, you know, newer people.
A newcomer to be able to rise up to that. Yeah, that's true. But, like, I also think, like, I don't know, like, it's fun.
But I don't feel that way about Todrick Hall, so I'm going to shut up. In Chicago.
Yeah, no, I feel like
leader.
Sometimes it's cool to see a newcomer, like, crush an established role, but I also think it's cool to see newcomers, like, establish their own element, or, like, be established in a brand new story, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tricky.
It's tricky.
It's tricky to rock it. It's tricky.
Oh my gosh. I forgot what she said because I didn't write it down, but my next note is Cinderella's a fucking savage.
Okay, let me look through mine.
It was something she said to the stepsisters, obviously.
Yeah, the stepsisters are arguing about, like, the hat to wear.
Oh, that's right.
And she was like, then they finally turned to her, was like, who do you think it's more flattering on? And she was like, I don't think it looks good on either of y'all. You're ugly as fuck.
Now one of y'all.
Oh, man. Yeah. Ugly ass hat. Hell yeah, Cinderella was my note.
So then we get into the song.
The sweetest sounds. And something, a lot of this music I really like. This song in particular, it's like how there's that minor element. Mm-hmm. You know, like, there's, like, a major lift. What's the opposite of that? Is that what's going on? It's like
a minor fall?
A minor fall? I don't know. I apologize. We don't know music as, like, we should for being, like,
now I'm playing Hallelujah
central.
In my head. Thanks a lot, Campbell.
Yeah. I mean, that was the point. Shrek is love, Shrek is life.
Oh, dear God.
Rufus Wainwright. But this song is, like, hypnotizing me to be optimistic. That's what the song sounds like. Because
there's that downturn in the music where it's like I'm not where I want to be, but I truly believe I can get there and I will get there, you know? Something I also think is interesting. So something I've been learning about recently is diegetic versus non-diegetic music in a film. So diegetic refers to sounds or music that are heard by the people in the story, in the film. Whereas non-diegetic is, like, heard by the audience, but not heard by the people in the film. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about, I don't know whether this would technically count as non-diegetic, but I find it interesting to, like, this song is specifically being sung by Cinderella and the Prince. It becomes a duet between them. But it's very clear that, like, it's not actually, unlike the other songs, it's not the actual dialogue they are saying to other people. It is them voicing their thoughts as they're going through their day. And it's really interesting because it almost plays the role of, like, the I Want song that you see in, like, The Little Mermaid, like, Part of Your World, like, that type of song where, like, the character's like, this is what I want in life, you know? And we get the, like, that first look into, like, their thoughts, and we see that they're actually compatible individuals. And I think that's what I really like about this particular version of Cinderella, and, like, the Rodgers and Hammerstein version of Cinderella in general, is that it's one of the only versions, to me, that actually establishes what truly could be a successful relationship between the Prince and Cinderella. Because we see that they are actually compatible individuals, and it's not just, oh, he saw her at a ball one night and she was hot, so then he found her. And
foot fetish, yeah.
And has a foot fetish, yeah.
Oh, also, so we see, like, the Prince come in, he's incognitus as a commoner.
But then gets into a big-ass carriage at the end of the song.
And does Brandy not see him walk into there?
I was like, is she not confused by this? Like,
or maybe she just knew the whole time, was like, I'm going to get that bag.
Facts.
And you know what? All power to you,
yeah.
Brandy. I
also love how, I don't know if it's technically a canon, but, like, how they kind of, their duet sort of devolves into canon at the end, which is, like, I saw that as, like, they're sort of singing the same melody, like they want the same things out of life, but they're currently, like, a beat out of step with each other.
What is that called? There's a certain thing, and there's, like, videos all the time where you have, like, different, like, balls at polyrhythm.
Oh, polyrhythmic, yes, but that's different because they're singing the same melody. They're singing the same rhythm, I think. Just like
they're singing the same melody, but they're at different speeds. Because how else will they get there at the same time?
That's true. Because she's repeating the line in the space between his lines.
Yeah,
so I think it would count as polyrhythmic. I think you're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, this strange man we find out to be Prince Christopher. Much longer name, we'll get to it.
I
love played by Paolo Montalban, who's also been in Just Right, Mortal Kombat, Conquest. He played Kung Lao in it. And something I will say about him, his singing voice, I think, is the like primo Prince Charming singing voice.
I agree. It's so rich.
It's very enchanted.
Yes.
James Marsden.
Yes, I agree.
I've been but it's very well done, and his voice fits with Brandy's so well.
Yeah. Oh, so well.
Because what is Brandy? Brandy's a contralto?
I believe she's a contralto, but also her singing voice in this is I can't tell if it's actually higher, but it's definitely lighter. It's a little breathier than it normally, like in her like albums and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think that like really fits the role of Cinderella, who like honestly, her life like till this stuff is like kind of like a sigh, and that's kind of evidence like through her singing.
Look at you, Campbell. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that for you. So one thing I really love is when she's like, about
to be run over by that dumb carriage.
I mean, yeah, sure, that too. But when they actually start talking and he's like, so like, what would a charming stranger have to do to like, you know, talk to a pretty girl in the market or whatever? And she's like, he would have to know how to like actually treat a girl. And he's like, like a princess? And she's like, no, like a fucking person. Treat me with basic kindness and respect. And I was like, God damn, idiot. Yes. like I was just like, yes.
Also, girls, charming women stranger. How dare you? I mean, it's true, but how dare you?
But how dare you, sir?
And then she's like, what's your name? It's like Cinderella. And it was like, Cinderella's like, yeah, I liked sometimes the cinders from the flame, from the fireplace that I sit too close to smudges my face. And he's just like, okay.
Which, all like, right. Low-key props.
She's like, I'm quirky.
Hashtag, I'm not like other girls.
I mean, that's he basically says that multiple times.
He literally does.
Cinderella, it grows on you, I guess. You don't have to say that about yourself.
Yeah, that's fair.
It grows on you, I guess. Just say Ella.
That's true. Which, like that's sort of the actual meaning.
She has the self-esteem. She was like, I know how I want to be treated, but you should call me this mean nickname.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, other versions of Cinderella, I get it. They're just beating her down all the time, and she, like, fully believes it in every interaction. There's like some interactions where she was like, no, I don't deserve that. For the most part, she was like, yeah, you know what, I'm like, it's stupid to dream this kind of stuff. And it's just, you know, from like abuse and neglect and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but there's just like the parts that she's like, I'm a fucking human being, treat me as such.
And it's like, but
I will tell, but I'm asking you to call me
the mean nickname
trash woman that my family calls me.
Yeah, it's like, so one of the notes for this movie was that like they, in modernizing the book, they also like rewrote its main character into a stronger heroine. And I was like, I mean, like halfway though,
like Black Tar. Heroine.
You got me. Because like one, she constantly looks like a deer in headlights. And she does, she does do that where like on the one hand, like she advocates for herself appropriately with the prince, but then like with her family, she still has to like learn like, hey, you're worthy, you're a human, you deserve to be treated as such.
It's like when you're telling your friend, it's like, no, you're beautiful. How fucking dare you say a single negative thing about yourself? Meanwhile, you're just like, oh, what about you? I was just like, oh, I'm the human incarnate of a trash goblin. Is the perfect way to put it. I was going to say a dumpster fire entering the sewer. But this song is really cool. I know it's just very lilting.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of these songs, or I think in Cinderella in general, and a lot of variations, they do play off like those like waltz kind of elements. And you know I'm a sucker for a fucking waltz.
Oh my gosh. And towards the end, like at the ball, I'm so excited when we get there. I want to talk about that waltz so bad.
Yeah. And then she's basically like, he's trying to like, you know, get her number and stuff. And she was like, leave me the fuck alone. Mm-hmm. And they both had like, there's like, I've had a sheltered life too. Different kinds of sheltered lives.
Different kinds of sheltered.
But there is something that like does like, it's like Aladdin and Jasmine. It's a gender reversed. Yeah. You know, royalty in disguise relating to experiences of someone that they've met.
Yeah, yeah.
That they're, you know, a little into.
I am ready to make a second drink if you would like.
Cool. I would love to. So, I'm going to put 0.75 amaretto. Mm-hmm.
I will put 1
about
ounce.
A tablespoon.
I'll put about a tablespoon and a half. And I think we put everything else the same. Well, I guess I'll make mine the way you did.
Okay, yeah. And so I need to muddle the maple syrup and pumpkin
just
puree.
Like, I just use a spoon. Like, just mix it in the bottom of the glass and then pour the other
and then everything else in the shaker.
Yep.
Okay.
And then for you, everything goes in the shaker and then you put the milk
except the
over
milk.
top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Break. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, I feel like I can taste the pumpkin more. For sure.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I've tasted less than this. Mm. So how do you feel?
Great drink. We did a really good job.
How can we now bridge the gap of what we did?
I think this time, did you measure how much milk you put in yours when you first did it? Okay, yeah. I think I put like too much milk for my liking this time by not measuring it and just kind of topping with it. So I like the 3 ounces. I do like the extra amaretto and pumpkin. So
so do you like the muddling, the mixing before and more, or in the shaker?
In the shaker was definitely like more convenient. Like it was easier, and it didn't like because we
mix it anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how the puree would just fare in the shaker, so that's the only reason that I muddled it. But yeah, like I think the shaker's fine.
So do we want to do 1 of amaretto?
1 of amaretto, tablespoon and a half of the pumpkin puree. I think specifically 3 ounces of the milk.
Yeah, at the end or mixed with it. I just kind of like how it looks.
I think at the end.
And then you can mix it.
I think I like at the end, yeah. Because you can easily just stir it to mix if you want to.
Yeah.
And then definitely nutmeg on top. I like that.
Oh, and and a whipped cream.
Yeah.
So, cool. Decided. 12:01.
Amazing. Cheers.
Cheers.
So we go to the castle, and it is not...
because he's royalty. And then...
rendered well.
Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
When they first show it in the distance, I was like, ooh, buddy.
Was this season 1 of Merlin?
Bro, the effects are so bad.
Thank you.
I'll be here all night.
Thank you. And we're introduced to the attendant. Like, I don't know everything.
What is Lionel supposed
his
to be?
job.
But
we're introduced to Lionel, who's
advisor?
played by...
I don't know.
I don't think he's advisor because they don't listen to him.
True. And he's like decorating the castle and stuff.
Yeah, and like making food orders.
Maybe he's a manservant.
So, that's why I said attendant.
That's a better word. Correct.
Manservant. Interesting. Raven. Okay, so Lionel, played by Jason Alexander. He's George Costanza. Seinfeld.
Yeah. How do you not know this man?
He's Hugo in Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Ooh, didn't know that.
He's in Pretty Woman. He's in the animated Harley Quinn show. That's super, super funny. He's in Young Sheldon in A Million Things. Super, super funny. Question for you, Raven. Mm-hmm. Why is he the only one doing an accent?
I just thought that was George. I just thought that was him. I just thought he just decided.
Nope. I'm telling you it's not. Why is he the only one doing an accent? And what is this accent? What do you think? Because this universe is the same world we live in.
That's true. They make a lot of
what do you think is Lionel's nationality? Is what I'm asking you.
Now I'm
because he's the only one that has like an accent.
I'm trying to remember what his voice sounded like. I feel like it was European in some sense.
Mm-hmm. In some sense. if you had to put sense to it, it would be some.
Maybe he's... You know what? We're gonna go random. He's from Montenegro.
I love that for him. I love it. So Lionel.
Also, I guess we haven't quite gotten there yet. Continue.
Crisscross is saying, don't tell my Prince Chris. You don't tell my parents I was like out dressed as a commoner again. And he was like, how am I supposed to lie to her? Talking about the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Who is introduced to his mother,
Whoopi fucking Goldberg. See, I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid, and like I remember,
I saw this movie on TV. I think with my nanny.
Love it.
Nanny being grandma. I like have a memory of seeing this with commercials.
Wild.
And not on the Disney Plus as we watched today.
Interesting.
I watched this today.
Yeah, I also. So I haven't watched this since I was a kid, and I obviously remembered Brandy and Whitney Houston, and generally Bernadette Peters, but I didn't know who she was at the time. Mm-hmm. I completely forgot Whoopi Goldberg was in this until she showed up on screen, and I lost my shit.
No.
How is she literally amazing in everything? She's so good in this.
Queen Constantina.
Oh my gosh! Say her name.
So yeah, Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, no, we will later. She's the queen. Oh my god, she's just so great. I mean, she's Dolores in Sister Act, and that's like the most important credit to me because love Sister Act so much.
Is a what?
Perfect movie.
Correct.
Sister Act 1 is a perfect movie. Sister Act 2 is really good. It's a really good movie. It doesn't feel like a sequel. It feels like a standalone movie.
Fair.
I love Sister Act so much. But also, like, Color Purple, Ghost. Fun fact, the king and the queen in this, so the king, King Max, played by Victor Garber.
He's also been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Family Law, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash. He's in Alias, like a million episodes. Mm-hmm. Those two actors have both been in one episode of the same show. Not the same time. What is that show, Raven?
Jesus Christ.
There's a reason I'm asking you this. Nope.
Can I get a genre?
No more hints. Not like, why would I ask you about this particular show?
Is it Scrubs?
No.
Oh, wait, is it 30 Rock?
Yes.
Am I supposed to guess their episodes?
Not their episodes, just like their characters or like what they were doing.
Fuck.
One of them's easy.
Well, Whoopi Goldberg can only play herself. So
yeah. Talk about EGOTing with Tracy.
Yes. Which will come up in the composer notes.
I love that.
I do not remember. Wait. Fuck.
I didn't look this up, but I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember what he played. I don't remember who he played.
Do you remember?
I mean, yes, when you mention it, I will, but...
the episode of 30 Rock where Jenna Maroney is trying to be the spokeswoman for wool?
Yes!
I think he's like the CEO of wool.
He is. He fully is.
Oh, noble sheep.
That's why I was trying. I couldn't figure out who he was. I was like, he wouldn't have played.
So wool.
He wouldn't have played just like a character's dad or something, you know. But oh my gosh, he totally was. Jesus.
Was he like Mr. Grimby or something like that?
Yes. I don't remember exactly what his name was, but that sounds right.
And like his wife's family was killed by people, and that was like a topic. I was like, I'll let her say it at dinner.
We haven't had a 30 Rock reference in quite a while. Remember at the beginning? Remember at the very beginning of the show when we were determined to have one every episode?
Yeah.
Wild.
When I saw him, when I was watching it today, I was just like, wool! That was my reaction.
Love that for you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
they're the king and queen, and they're like, hey,
you gotta find a wife, my dude.
You need to, like, have an heir. You're gonna be king someday. And the king's like, what? I'm fully alive. And I think, well, we all know who rules this country.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg.
So he's like, I don't want to, like, they're like, okay, we need to have a ball so that you can find a wife and we can, like, get different women and stuff like that. Standard patriarchy shit.
And so he says, I do not want a ball, which then is followed by the song, The Prince is Giving a Ball. Because you know what his mother's doing? What she wants.
Yes.
So there's a proclamation.
I literally wrote down, wait, how do a white person and a black person have an Asian son? I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
The family.
Also, I high-key love Lionel's hairstyle. It's just so random. Because he's the only person in the show that doesn't have just like a normal hairdo. It's
like a balding friar.
Yes.
With 1.5 hair curlers. Not 2 full ones. 1.5. 1 on one side and half on the other. Sometimes it switches. But they're both not curled fully.
That is the perfect description. Oh my gosh.
And so the song is really, it's the proclamation. And everyone in this family has very long names. Would you like to hear them, Raven?
Yes, please. I did not write them down.
I assumed you didn't. His Royal Highness Christopher, Rupert, Winmere, Vladimir, Carl, Alexander, Francois, Reginald, Lancelot, Herman, Gregory, James.
Wild.
And then he's the son of Queen Constantina Charlotte, Ermentrude, Guinevere, Maisie.
Maisie?
Marguerite Anne. And the son of King Maximilian Alfred, Ladislaw Leopold Sidney.
I unironically love the name Leopold. Like, not like I would name my kid that, but like I like that name. I guess like an old, like a
That's how I feel about Rupert.
Rupert is high key a good name.
I like Rupert. It's a cute name.
I like Leopold. It's great.
Little Roops. If you went up to a baby and say, "What's up, Roops?" Is that not precious? Yeah. The prince is giving a ball.
Yes, the prince is giving a ball. I love their names. Rodgers and Hammerstein were rest in peace. So good at making just fun, showy music. Like their music is like these are literal show tunes in like the best sense of the word. And it's just so fun. It's like light and quick. The choreography is on point, and it has like the full feeling. This entire scene has the feeling to me of like an old school comic opera, like Pirates of Penzance. Like it just has that vibe.
This song also has something that I know you hold near and dear to your heart. Fun lists.
Love a list. Love a good list.
Love a list. Grocery, the shopping list, so much fun.
I have an entire app of lists right now.
How many flowers do they want? 2,000 flowers? That's
so
fun.
many
That's
goddamn
luxurious.
flowers.
2,000. I counted.
Amazing.
There has to be a better way for them to transport the alcohol, though.
Also, the bread.
They're throwing that, like everything else. I'm fine with because it's like campy. They're dancing. It's fun. With the bottles of champagne, there's like 4 people, and they're throwing one bottle at a time to put in a single basket.
I think that's the most efficient way.
No, and I like honestly, and you know. One of them gets away. Good on Lionel. He gets it. It opens. He was like, you know what? I deserve this. And he has one sip.
He treats
and he's
himself.
drunk. And I love that for his character. Maybe it's a cultural thing wherever he's from. I don't know. It's an ambiguous accent. But it's good. It was a good move. It was a smart move for Lionel, who has been mistreated most of this film.
Oh, so many. Okay, but actually the thing that I kind of like about Lionel is one of the few sidekicks of this type that, like, he's mistreated, but not in a way that makes me feel like he's actually undervalued. You know what I mean? Like, there are times, like, at least the prince does listen to him at certain times, and, like, they never actually degrade him as a human being. And there are some sidekicks like this role, well, that I perceived.
They, like, fully tried to throw him off a ladder. He was on the floor in the ball, and they were like, who is that? They're like, Lionel. They're like, oh, none of our business. So
that's fair. That's fair. But like with their
I'm gonna
words,
have to disagree with you, Michelle.
But like with their words, they don't denigrate him with their words. Which there are some psychic characters that you just feel sad for, and I never really feel sad for Lionel.
Name some.
Zazu.
Ooh.
Mufasa full on let Simba attack him for fun.
Who?
Which name? Mufasa?
Ooh.
Say it again. Mufasa.
Ooh. Whoopi Goldberg. And now we're back.
Amazing. Shenzi. Okay. I feel like this scene is what a live action Prince Ali should have felt like.
Yes. Including Bernadette Peters as a bird who can warble on key.
Facts. Yes. Love it. Bringing it back. Amazing.
So now we see Cinderella's house. It's a nice house.
It is a pretty nice. It's a cute little cottage. Cottage.
And
core.
so like Cinderella's expected to open the door for her family, take everything, and they're like, "We're so tired." And Cinderella's like, "I'm tired too." And her stepmother is like, "Excuse you, you have been busy. The impertinence. What have you been doing?" And Cinderella's like waiting on you, literally
carrying
all
you back.
day.
They literally walk in the door, and she's like, "Cinderella, have you dusted the rafters?" And she's literally standing there like with their back. She's like, "Are you serious? Like, yeah. I've been with you the whole time." And
everyone knows that the ball's the next night. So they're like, "Hey, let's go to bed. Let's get our beauty rest." And you know, Brandy is saying, thinking about, could I go to the ball? Maybe this is something I can like attend to, because like every eligible woman in town, in the country, is invited. And her stepmother says to her that she should know her place and be happy for what she has.
Which is nothing, so...
And it was like, it's like, I feel like my father would want me to go, or like my father would support me. It's like, your father's dead, so he's alive in my heart.
Also, fun fact, when we see the stepsisters walking around with a book on their head to practice their posture, I had to do that.
As a debutante?
As a debutante. Actually, that was way before I was a debutante. That was actually when my sister was a debutante. I was like 8 years old. Maybe 9.
So, a couple years ago.
Shut the fuck up. I knew you were going to do that. That's why I did it too.
I mean, it's fun. When Cinderella says, he's alive in my heart, her stepmother says, don't cling to the past. It's not attractive. This woman hates her.
She just, like, hates this little girl, like, for no
And then,
reason.
like, the stepsister's like, I want it's like, give me water, give me milk. I know it's blind casting, but, like, of course the white one wants milk to drink. We get into the saddest song of this musical.
In my own little corner.
She's like, I'm shy, I'm not good enough. But you know what? If I sit in my little old chair by the fire, I can be anything. But then I remember, I'm nothing.
Cinderella, that's called trauma-induced dissociation. That's what that is.
Yeah, this is your happy place. You're not in touch with reality.
Facts. Also, she didn't do not one thing they asked.
No. Also, she pronounced Milan, Milan.
I did not like that.
Listen, if you can see the look on Raven's face,
how is this
she
our
really
world?
didn't like it. Yeah, how is this our world? Like, she could be like, what'd she say? Like, queen in Egypt. She, like...
I didn't even remember all the...
I mean, a huntress in Africa. I was like, Brandy, you don't... Cinderella, like, don't Don't be a big game hunter. Like, that's not what we want for you.
So they're prepping
in my
for the
own
ball.
little corner. It's just so sad.
Yeah, we're still going with that song.
All alone in my own little chair. And it's not like a cute, my little chair, like Tina Lee says, like,
it's the
oh,
chair
my
that
little
gets the
chair.
cinders on her face.
Yeah, because she's called...
Sitting Cinderella. She's just sitting by the fire. Which, like, how close do you have to be sitting by the fire that
to get,
the
like,
cinders
the ash on
smudge
you.
your face? Wild. Which I didn't think that was originally why she... Because, so there's different reasons why
like,
she's
she
called
would have
Cinderella.
to clean and, like, the soot on her face.
Yeah, there's different reasons why she's called Cinderella. And it does always have to do with, like, the fireplace and soot. But, like, usually it has to do with, like, her having to clean the fireplace. Or, like, there was one adaptation... there's one variation of the story where... to delay her going to the ball, they dumped a bowl of lentils into the ashes from the fire.
Into the woods, is that?
Oh, yeah. And that's
Anna
like...
Kendrick's a witch, so it worked out fine.
That's also an official story. Like, an official story variant.
That may be, like, the Grimm one.
It's probably the Grimm version. Matt could tell us. Or we could just listen to our own episode of the podcast.
No.
And once she cleans up all the lentils, then she can go to the ball, which, like, with the assumption she'll never be able to clean up in time. So, like, those variations, yeah, it makes perfect sense that soot is in your face. But, like, you're sitting too close to is your face in the fire?
See, this is just, like, concerning from a, like, a sociopathic, psychotic kind of way. She just, like, is so obsessed with the fire aspect that she's just like, yes, let it cleanse me. You know?
You know what would have been an interesting ending if she just, like, burned down the house? Well, she basically went on one and into the woods.
I always say about these damn musicals, there's not enough blood.
Not enough blood.
Not enough blood.
Big facts.
So then we see that we get back to the castle, and we see Lionel kind of, like, singing the previous song while they're getting ready for the ball, and the prince is furious. He was like, I don't want this. But Lionel... comes up with
has an idea, and he says, well, maybe if you can find a suitable bride at the ball, hint hint, nudge nudge, wink wink, and the prince connects the dots, and it's like, mother and father, if I do not find a suitable bride, might I be allowed by happenstance might I be allowed to choose my love for myself? And they're like, yeah, sure, fuck, whatever. And he's like, bet, I'm a reject every single girl at this ball. And it basically becomes like, you ever watch Swan Princess?
Of course I have.
It's literally the same thing. Where, like, they're literally parading these girls in front of him. Although I did low-key like that parade better. But it's also because it's animated and there's more you can do with it. Why were all of the girls in purple? We'll talk about it when we get there.
Oh, I wrote down, I was like, was there a theme to this ball? Because everyone's in purple, blue, and teal. And
Minerva is still kind of wearing purple and blue, but then
Calliope walks to the beat of her own drum.
In, like, lime green.
She is not what I would call neurotypical.
Big facts.
Yeah, and so then we go back. They're getting ready for the ball.
So now the girls are getting ready for the ball. Yes.
And what a tight ass corset.
Oh yeah.
Poor Minerva.
I actually love a corset though. But at one point,
beauty knows no pains.
Facts. The stepmother, which my mother has literally said to me before while doing my hair as a child. It's not trauma. It's fine. And at one point, the stepmother literally says, "Whatever you do, you mustn't let the prince know how clever you are."
Yeah.
Are they clever?
It's like, show me what mother taught you. And there was like flirting eyelashes. I'm gonna curtsy like this. Yikes. Bad.
I will snack him with my infectious laughter. I actually unironically like her laugh.
Oh yeah.
I think it's legitimately entertaining.
Yeah. Well, see, entertaining is not what she was going for though.
Correct.
She was going for endearing.
Correct. She did not hit the mark.
Minerva will recite a poem. No.
We hide our flaws until after the wedding. Facts. Women, take note.
Try not to snort. and
Hashtag
try
r
not to
slash female
scratch.
dating strategy.
No snorting or scratching. Those are them's the rules.
I don't know. I think snorting is. I honestly think someone who laughs and snorts is honestly really endearing because it means they've lost control of their laugh. Like that is a genuine laugh.
Yeah, but to the point
snort.
of psychotic break,
That's fair.
not great, Raven. It's not great.
It depends, like, if something happened to prompt the laugh, but he literally says hello when she starts laughing. And it's like, girl, like, ugh.
We get into the song Falling in Love with Love.
And my next note is, fuck out of here with that wholesome shit, Cinderella.
Yeah. I was like,
We're not
because
about it
Cinderella's
right now.
like, what about falling in love? And her stepmother is like, it doesn't exist.
Fuck that noise.
It's like love is make believe. I'm not going to play a fool. They have so many chairs. They kept on sitting in different chairs and seats.
There's only 4 of you.
And then we get the line, "Love fell out with me," which I was like, "Oh dang!"
I
love that line. Yeah,
yeah.
I was like,
And
let's add a layer to this character.
And something that I actually really like, and I understand people that don't like musicals because it feels like they just break out into song, but which they kind of do. But Rodgers and Hammerstein, especially Hammerstein, literally, I don't want to say he invented because I don't know enough about the history of musical theater to say that, but like they very much followed the formula of like when the you talk until the emotion gets too much, and then you sing until the emotion gets too much, and then you dance. And here, one of the things I really really like about their songs is that the songs in this story, this variant of Cinderella, are conversational. So like the first line of these songs is the next line that person would say. So like the way the scene flows, like the stepmother's first line of the song "Falling in Love with Love" is what she would say in that scene. It's just she is now going into song, so it becomes the first line of the song. And these songs aren't like, they have a chorus and sort of like a refrain and bridge and like all that stuff, but refrain and chorus are more or less the same thing, but it's very much dialogue, and I think it takes a lot of musical and compositional skill to be able to make lines that could be in conversation and make them fit in the framework of a song, like actually have them rhyme and stuff like that. And I think that's what Rodgers and Hammerstein and the subsequent composers and playwrights that they've mentored, which I'll talk about later, I think that's one of the things that they really, really perfected in their time in musical theater. Like they were literally known for ushering in the golden age of American musical theater. And I think that's part of the reason why. And this song really, really shows that, where to me, this is one of the songs that just flows the best from the scene that it starts in. Yeah. Where like, to me, it doesn't, even though she does technically burst into song, it doesn't feel wholly unnatural because it is a natural continuation of the conversation. They just start singing the conversation instead of speaking it.
I agree. And I think this song is also an example of what I was talking about with Bernadette Peters earlier, how she can transition to kind of commanding singing and comical singing effortlessly.
Yes, she's so talented.
Because then when the step singers are singing, and then she's just like belting, like she's just far above, like note wise, everyone else. That's just like she's like auxiliary to the song at that point. Yeah, and it just feels natural, like you were saying. Yeah. So then we see them ready for the ball. They all look great.
I love, and this is where I wrote down, like, I love her dress. So, the stepmother's dress. The swirling patterns, like, of gold against the deep purple, just, ooh, love it. Go I would Vikings. Totally wear that dress. Oh my gosh. And her curls are beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And something I also do really appreciate about this movie, and I feel like you do too, and I think it comes along with, like, the blind casting and, like, you know, what they care about and things like that. You actually see in, like, lyrics, comments, just, like, what they're wearing. appreciation and understanding of like different hair types, but it's never talked about because it's just like, this is just how it should be.
That's literally what I was about to say. Like, I love the fact that
right before they got ready with Minerva, like with her hair. Yeah.
They really honor the different characters' hair and therefore the different actors' hairstyles and hair types. Like, Bernadette Peters, or at least like Stepmother, has like these beautiful like redhead curls, ringlets, like ringlet curls that are just gorgeous, and they're like in every scene the way her hair is styled is meant to accentuate that and emphasize that, and it's so beautiful. But at the same time, like Brandy has these like almost micro braids like the entire movie, and even when she's transformed into Cinderella, like they're curled and it looks like her hair is like straightened or something like that, but it's still the braids, they've just been styled into the queen hairstyle.
Whoopi Goldberg, when her hair is
still has her dreads.
Yep.
Like they I mean, I don't think you could make Whoopi Goldberg do something other than her dreads. Like I think that would be heresy, but
it's also consistent for everyone to be like, this is your hair type, this is what we're doing.
And it's never, you have braids, so we can't do anything else. Because I think a lot of non-black people think that, like, if you have braids or dreads, that's all your hair is. But it's like, no, you can still style that. Like, it's just, my hair is in this style, but that can then also be styled. And they actually honor that. Like, I don't know who I didn't look at the credits deep enough, but I don't know who the hairstylists were. But I imagine that they did have some sort of experience with different hairstyles of like across different ethnic groups, because I feel like everyone had their hair honored in a way that you don't always see in mixed casting like this.
Which is, you know, even more upsetting because this was in 1997.
And the fact that like
this was 25 years ago.
And it's so, I literally at one point was like, you can't say anything. Like whenever we have those like films or movies or stories where it's just like, well, it's just so hard to find like representation. Also, it was like we were literally doing it in 1997, and it wasn't even in a way where like ethnicity or race was like brought up. It was literally just like, you're a great actor and a great singer and you fit well with this role, so you're in this role. Like it's just there. Yeah.
So we get into, so then they go off to the ball and Cinderella closes the door and she's just home crying, and we get into a reprise of In My Own Little Corner. So sad. She like wishes she was at the ball to see her and her stepsisters' faces would be a queer sort of sour apple green, which I just love it.
I also wrote down that line.
As a queer person, it's fun.
It's such a perfectly unsettling description.
Yeah.
You know?
And then we hear
fucking
Folderol
Whitney
and Bedley
Houston.
D, Fiddly Faddle. We're introduced to Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. Are we not?
I mean, like a little.
Hidely ho, dilly dally, neighbor.
Oh
Whitney Houston, the fairy godmother, appears.
I love, like, you can just tell she just had fun with this role. Just, like, saying those random lines. She just had fun with this.
Folderol, fiddly dee, fiddly loud, fiddly faddle, all the wishes of the world are poppycock and twaddle.
You got something to say about it?
Nope, I guess I don't.
Nope.
What? And so Cinderella's like, who
I'm
are
not
you?
questioning her.
Like, who are you? What are you doing here? And Fairy Godmother's like, I could leave.
And she's like, aren't you going to invite me in?
Does another little rhyme thing. And, like, Cinderella does say, that's terrible.
That's bad.
What you're doing right now is bad.
It's bad. And then she's like, it's hard to think of rhymes on the spot. You try
Question
it.
for you, Raven. When she was like, may I come in? Do you think the Fairy Godmother's a vampire?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
I literally wrote down, I was like, okay, I get that as Whitney Houston, but she's still a strange woman that showed up at your bedroom, quote unquote bedroom, window in the middle of the night. Like, there should be a little more caution taken.
No. I like the magic effects here. It's very, like, 90s.
I really like the, like,
Circles.
glitter, like, stuff, like, spray that she'll do. Yeah. It is very 90s, but it kind of works because I don't know what else are you gonna do to show magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very much taken from like the animation style of like in the original Cinderella, how the fairy godmother, like it would be those same like glitter streams when she was transforming Cinderella.
Yeah.
And I think they just took the influence, is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah, inspiration directly from that. But like, it actually, that I feel actually works. It's the pumpkin stuff. Later.
We'll get there. Okay. We'll get to James and the Giant Peach in due time, Raven.
In due time.
So, yeah, Fairy Godmother's just, like, asking us, like, what's wrong? What's going on? Stuff. And she was like, this is my dream. I hate living here. But I promised my dad that I'll, like, stay with him for the family.
And she's like...
Whitney Houston was just like, okay, like, dream... Like, who cares what your dream is? What are you doing?
What are you doing about it?
What are you doing? What are you doing about it? What the fuck are you doing, crying girl that I've intruded upon?
and forced you to invite me into your home.
Yeah, and then set part of your home on fire. Like, It was in the correct place, but, like, the fact remains.
Although I will say, like, I do like that.
I like that
sort of take, like, that theme that they added into the story of, like, yes, you can wish and have a fairy godmother all you want, but at the end of the day, like, and she literally says it when she takes her to the ball, like, she can only get you there. Yeah. You still have to do the work, you know?
And then she was like, oh, what do you think? Do you think just one of those pumpkins is just going to turn the carriage and, like, take you to the ball? And they're like, when she's times like that, no. I'm just like, two on the nose. I know what you're doing. Like, you didn't have to do that.
We get it. You're
then
magical.
we get into the song, Impossible?
It's possible.
Kim Possible,
really
we're unstoppable.
Like shut up.
It's great. It's a great song.
Really
possible things are happening every day. I think that's like a great message.
Yeah.
No one's stopping you but you. And she was saying, I've been alive for 600 years. And she doesn't look it. You know why?
Because she's fucking Whitney Houston.
She's
the goddamn queen.
Black don't crack. For 600
I mean,
years.
It does if it's dry, but only then. Moisturized.
Magic.
This is a PSA.
Moisturized.
This has all been an extensive PSA for moisturizing and drinking your water.
Yeah, and then we get into the original Windows screensaver, which is the pumpkin turning into a carriage. Like,
bro,
it's like one of those pipe mazes that come up, like when you're like, not paying attention from playing, that skiing game on your PC. Yeah.
I was trying to be so nice with all of my notes.
Don't be nice.
I was like,
bad.
These effects could use some work. But it was the 90s. So
it was the 90s, but I feel like there's been movies prior to that. But again, it has to do with like the budgets for things. Yeah. And like Disney's huge, always has been, always will be. But they didn't have the Disney budget that they have today.
Yeah, so this was like sort of when Disney was entering its golden age of like musicals, but that was mostly for like animation. Like there at this point in time, this wasn't
a for TV movie.
Yeah, like in the 80s and 90s, like The Little Mermaid really was the beginning of people getting into musical films again, but even that was specifically in animation, and that was ushered in by Howard Ashman. And people, like, we got into animated musical films because there was so much more that you could do with animation than live action. And so, like, live action musicals, especially on film, like, not on Broadway, but on film, like, there was not a ton of confidence in them at this point. So, like, even getting, like, this many people and, like, doing this much for something like a live action musical was already, I feel like, sort of a big deal. And I feel like they wouldn't have spent a ton on the effects budget because you're already paying for Brandy, Whitney Houston, Whoopi Goldberg, and, like, all of these other stars.
Which I was going to say, I was trying to think of, like, what live action Disney stuff was going around this time, and I was like, Disney Channel original movies. So my first Google search was Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, and wondering when that came out.
Ooh, I forgot about that.
1999.
You're really digging in the archives.
1999.
Yeah.
Zoom,
After
zoom,
this
zoom.
movie.
Protozoa. Make my heart go boom, boom, boom. Baby. But yeah, so this song is really cool. And they do this like a few times in this musical where like the first go through of the song is like basically saying this one situation. So it's like, oh, it's impossible for this. And then it repeats and be like, actually, it's possible with the same conditions. So they take different perspectives on the same song and generally the similar lyrics. And they do that a few times in this movie, which I think, I don't know, it's a cool narrative tool to show differences in perspectives without having like needing to have different songs.
And honestly, I feel like it's a great way to inform or progress their theme without being overly heavy-handed about it. Like, because I think this song is very much playing into the theme of like, you are putting limitations on yourself. Like Cinderella has, I mean, yes, the world will put limitations on you, but if there's something that you want to do, ultimately you have to make the decision to do it. And if you truly believe that you have like the will and the ability, like you might need help, there might be additional like resources or something like that you need to get off the ground or to like to be able to get started with it. But ultimately, like it's about your perspective and you believing that it's something that you can do.
There are things that are out of your controls, but it's important to recognize the things that are in your control.
Yes. And especially
and that doesn't
with,
take
like,
away from each other, but it...
Exactly. Like Cinderella's, we'll say accomplishments in this movie, aren't lessened. I couldn't think of a better one. Like, ultimately she meets her goal, which is dubious. I'll talk about it at the end. Ultimately she meets her goal, and like, yes, that's done with help, but that doesn't lessen her character or the work she's done had to do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She just need a little bit of a lift because some of us are starting behind.
Question for you, Raven. So they need horses and like men to like drive the carriage. The horses are made from the family pet mice.
Correct.
The humans are made from outside wild mice.
Yep.
And I want to talk about this now. I know it happens later. When the clock strikes 12, everything's left at the castle. So do they just lose their pets?
Fully.
Okay, cool. Got it.
They have no more mice left.
We get back to it's possible. So Cinderella's believing is like, oh, this can actually happen. I believe it's going to happen, and I'm going to make it happen kind of thing. And Whitney Houston and Brandy's voices just go so well together.
So well together.
While she is just like flying on the outside of the carriage, I was like, it's like, you don't have to fly. There's like ample room in the carriage.
There's ample room. Like, you could have just appeared in the carriage. But she wanted to flex, and I respect that. Also, when she's like, oh, you have to be back by midnight. And Brandy's like, or Cinderella's like, but why? And she's like, I don't make the rules. And it's just like, but
she fully
why not?
Can make the rules.
Who makes the rules then? Like, is there?
I had the same exact thought.
I literally went to like, almost said Timmy Turner. I literally went to like Fairly Godparents.
Fairly Odd Parents.
It's Fairly Odd Parents. I always mix it up. And it's just like, is there like a fairy godparent kingdom that has like a book called The Rules that you're not allowed to break? Like, I was like, who made these if not you?
Oh, so okay, no, I get you. Okay, in this universe, the rules are made by Jorgen von Strangle. And on that, we're gonna get another drink. Well, it's halftime, sports fans. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, it's Campbell from Boost Coles. I'd like to tell you all about Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation. This foundation keeps music alive in schools by providing vital support services to school districts and new musical instruments to underfunded music programs nationwide, giving underrepresented youth access to the many benefits of music education, leading them to success in school, and inspiring creativity and expression through playing music. There have been over 34,000 donated instruments and over 2 million students impacted by this organization. Some of the support services they offer are professional development for music teachers led by certified instrument repair technicians, and further community engagement and instrument drives, just to name a few. Again, Raven and I believe the best way to support us as a podcast is to support organizations like Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation that supports music education and the passion of music in our youth. You can donate at mhopus.org/donate. Again, that's mhopus.org/donate. Back to our nonsense. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cinderella. That's not something that's missing from this movie. Gus.
Well, I mean, there are mice.
How dare we talk about Cinderella and not even bring up the most atrocious version?
I thought that was on purpose. I thought we were avoiding talking about it.
Listeners, there's a reason we chose this one. It was probably between like this and the original because we don't recognize any other ones. The Jukebox Cinderella
I certainly
movie,
don't recognize the 2015 one because, well, it's not a musical. Is it a musical? It probably is. I didn't pay attention to it.
What about, is Cinderella Story a musical or no? With Hilary Duff?
With Hilary Duff?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is.
It might be.
And neither is the one with Selena Gomez. Not really.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. But I do not recognize the most recent Jukebox musical version with Camila Cabello.
Adele Dazeem, what are you doing?
I try not to be unnecessarily offended by basic references to like my
But how
culture.
dare they do that to Janet Jackson?
I am legitimately offended that they used Rhythm Nation in that movie. Specifically because the song Rhythm Nation has nothing to do with anything they were talking about. It's an activist fucking song. And because of that, they only used the chorus over and over again in the worst possible way. And I'm legitimately upset about it. And I refuse to watch the movie.
Yeah, every time Raven says, like, I refuse to watch it, I've, like, made her watch it. Not this one.
No.
The day we do that musical, in quotes, for our podcast will be our last episode. And I mean it.
I don't know if that's the legacy I want to leave for this world.
No, but as in, like, we're not going to be able to come back.
Oh, as in, it would be the end of this podcast.
It'll ruin us. And our friendship.
Yeah.
So anyway,
facts.
They're at the
Love
ball. And so the prince is dancing with different women. He's like, oh, he's smiling. He's like, is it a smile or is it a
this shit is
wince?
boring as fuck, first of all. When you first get there, everyone's dead.
Yeah, also, is there a theme?
Dead.
Why is everyone in the same...
Everyone is wearing purple.
Blue, purple, or teal?
And like that sheer kind of material, I don't know what it's called, but like, you know.
Material?
It's the like weirdly shiny material.
Tulle.
Yes, Toule.
Tulle.
Tulle. Okay, that's
Tulle.
what it is. Tulle.
Like you are.
A tool.
Raven, don't say things about yourself like that. So much tool.
There's so much tool. They're all dancing, and it's a little boring, but like they're like, okay, all the different girls will get their turn at a time.
Stepmother is just like trying to flirt with Lionel to get her daughters in.
Well, she's flirting with Lionel because her daughters want a turn with the prince, which they signal by Minerva just screaming, I want a chance at him. But so the way this is done, you see the ballroom dance floor. Everyone's dancing. It's all happy, whatever. Then it just randomly cuts to the three of them on the stairs. She literally screams this line to the point that it echoes a little bit. And then it just cuts back. And I fully lost my shit. I was fully rolling on the floor laughing.
Yes.
Literally.
Raffle.
ROTFL.
All the live long day.
Which, I have not used that acronym in a solid 10 years.
Same. This was the first time. I had to, think about it. It's what is rolling on the floor laughing? What's the acronym for that? Which is a dumb thought process, because it's just the words.
That is indeed how acronyms work.
Bird is the word. Yeah, so Minerva's turn to dance, and she like itches once, and then he's like, "Why are you so itchy?" I was like, that's
relax.
Extreme. Like, I know it's a bit.
People are allowed to.
I know it's a
Fun fact,
nervous
you know what
tick.
the medical term for itching is?
Scritch scratch.
So no, surprisingly,
Close.
it's pruritus.
Pruritus.
Pruritus. Pruritus. Shut the fuck up. But yeah, that's the medical term for itching.
Oh, that's fun.
In case you were interested.
I wasn't, but now I am.
I know you are. And so
what am I?
I?
I'm rubber and you're glue. You're both eaten by children.
What? Oh, true. Concerning, though.
You just went through the 5 stages of grief from that response. Just all at once. So anyway, now it's Calliope's turn, who just, her laughter is incessant. It's crazy.
I love that. It's incessant, not infectious.
No.
Which is what she was going for. Yeah, the stepmother is full on pimping herself out to Lionel to get her daughters.
He's like, is there anything you need? It's like, yeah, there's one, one thing I need, a continent between us. He says in his French, Italian, Turkish, Peruvian accent.
Montenegrin. We've been over this.
Montenegrin.
Is that the demonym for people from Montenegro?
Nice use of demonym.
Thank you.
That's solid. We're gonna Google again because we're on that train. People of Montenegro are called.
Well, I mean, you could probably just Google Montenegro, the country.
Montenegrins.
Cool.
Montenegrins. Montenegrins.
Also, I have no idea. I don't even know what the national language of Montenegro is, or what type of accent the people from there, what that would sound like to an American person. So I'm very sorry if I'm offending anyone from Montenegro. It was fully just a joke.
I mean, they speak Montenegrin.
Interesting. I don't know why I just assumed it would be Italian or something. I don't know where Montenegro is in Europe fully. I saw it at one point and I've forgotten since.
It's in the Balkans. They're they're right next to Serbia.
Oh. But how Switzerland speaks a mix of Italian and German and I think French. I just assume, and I guess Swiss, but I just assumed that they spoke another country's language.
Cinderella makes it there.
Yeah.
And the music's getting faster, and he's just trying to get through it. And I know with these kinds of dances, I know the band's playing faster, and I've heard of speed dating, but this is ridiculous.
Shut up.
I wrote that down earlier. I thought it was funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I do like that though, because I think it's fun to fun to challenge musicians in that way. There's this group of kids at our all city that would always practice the music at 3x speed, and we thought they were kind of pretentious, but also they were really talented. I think it's just
because
fun.
It takes a lot of work to do that.
It takes a lot of work to be able to do that.
It takes a lot of work to play something as slowly as you can. People always think when you're want to add. In my last band concert, there's this one song, Byzantine Dances, and the graduate student who's the conductor for that song said really want the song to have a lot of drama. Drama doesn't mean loud.
Yes.
Good dynamics doesn't mean loud. Les Mis, 2012
Facts.
version.
Tom Hooper.
Playing softly is dramatic.
Yeah. I also love
dynamics are important.
Playing expressivo. We played at one point. One of my favorite pieces that I've ever played in middle school orchestra was I believe it was called The Great Gate of Kiev. It was spelled the Russian way, but out of respect for Ukraine, I'm going to use the Ukrainian spelling. It was The Great Gates of Kiev, and
I like how you said, in respect for Ukraine, you're going to use the Ukrainian spelling, but you're still just saying it and not spelling it.
KYIV would be like the English approximation of the pronunciation, I think.
I just thought it was funny.
Shut up. But at least for the first violinist part, like the piece was like 80% whole notes and half notes. Shut up.
Were you a concert master?
Yes. But the piece for me at least was almost exclusively whole notes and half notes. And it was actually really, really fun to learn how to like have to play expressively when you're just playing like 4 notes across 4 measures. And I think that's honestly a really, really good exercise. And I think it's just cool to like play with, not dynamics, tempo, to play with like tempo and dynamics, honestly, to kind of challenge your musical, like technical proficiency.
Yeah. There was this one video that we would always be shown in band, and it was kind of like TED Talk-esque, and it was this one pianist, and like, I'm gonna have to look it up, and it's really good, everyone should watch it. But it's like a term this pianist was saying, like one cheek playing, where you were getting like really into the song, that you're kind of like, he was like lifted up like from his piano bench, and like was really getting the music, like literally one like ass cheek up playing.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there.
I just thought,
I honestly like, I kind of miss that feeling of being, and that's why I'm trying to practice again to get to the point that I can play without thinking, because it just, I miss that feeling of being so enthralled by the sound of the music that you are producing. It is like, it is the greatest feeling, is one of the greatest feelings in the world. And like listeners, whether you studied music as a child and haven't picked up an instrument since 4th grade, whether you are interested in getting into music but you don't know how, like there is a reason that we strongly support musical education by supporting like education through music, Mr. Holland's Opus, the Daria Foundation,
nice plugs.
Because music education is one, critical to a child's development, but also like it allows you to develop a part of yourself that, I mean, through other artistic means can still be developed, but like it can't be developed just through like math and science. Like it's a whole other part of yourself, and a part of like being able to put your heart into something that you are just able to lose yourself in. And I think that's a very just special feeling that I hope everyone gets to experience at some point in their lives.
I was talking to my friend Cullen, he was on the podcast today, and he was talking about he's currently a long-term sub for this middle school, and like it's really tough being a teacher right now. Students have picked up behaviors and things from
their parents,
their families, who have been in panic mode these past 2 years, and no one knows how to act. And so he was like, it's so important. And along with, I'm in this like graduate, like university teaching certificate program in grad school, and the class I took this past term was issues in higher education. And so some of the issues I was looking at,
there are so many.
We had to pick 3 issues and like research a bunch of stuff about them and find solutions and things like that. So the 3 I chose were, this is all related, don't you worry. The 3 I chose were retention of underserved populations in undergraduate studies, mental health of graduate students, and work environment for LGBTQ plus faculty. And like out of that, what it would be really helpful for, Cullen students that he's like, trying to get them to do, and like everything involved, it's based off of finding community, which, obvious to a lot of people. So Cullen's like, y'all just like take band, take orchestra, take chorus, like find your people. And like the ability to find your people, especially as adults in like education, that doesn't go away. Like when I like talk to some of my grad school friends, especially people that like worked for a little bit before coming back to school, what everyone's worried about is like, how do you make friends again? And like, as human beings, our drive and our need to find community, especially that is like perpetuated and like fully supported in these music education settings, is crucial to like holistically like being a person.
Yeah. And my new favorite thing is anytime I mention either my musical background or my podcast to just anyone I'm friends with or anyone I have a connection to, when they say like, oh, well, I used to play X in like elementary school or middle school or high school, like whatever.
Love it.
And
Immediate best friend.
It's like, yes, like let's talk about that. Like, how did you feel about that? Like, do you want to get back into it? Like, it's so cool.
Which
to
is
be
so
able to
common in STEM.
Connect to people.
Everyone
so
has
common in STEM.
Almost everyone has music backgrounds.
Yeah, and like I work in pharmaceutical manufacturing, so I work with a ton of engineers, and a lot of people have musical background that they're no longer feel connected to. And it's just really cool to like, and you see people light up when they're just like, oh, well, I played like the French horn in like 7th grade. It's like, yes, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about mellophones then. And they're just like, I know what that is. And it's just so interesting because it like extends beyond like who you work with, who you know. I see this also, not to get into like parasocial relationships with celebrities and things like that.
Yeah.
But like still finding like connections with people. One of the like million reasons I finally understood like why one of the million reasons I love, say like Lizzo, she's a band kid.
Oh my gosh, she's an amazing flautist.
Yeah, she's a band kid.
Yeah,
and I'm like, there's a part of that I recognize that was my like community, my safe space that like you know fully supported and like lifted me up that I see in someone else and I feel like an instant connection with. Anyway, Cinderella.
Cinderella arrives and she's like, okay, you have until midnight. It is 11:15. So that means, Campbell, that means that the rest of the time of her time at this party happens in 45 minutes, which I just don't believe. I don't believe that.
No, honestly, I feel like, I mean, it like we saw it take place over like 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, this could be like a shot for shot.
I guess. It's just like, I just couldn't imagine arriving at a party with only 45 minutes to party.
No. Well, normally you're partying beforehand. Just knowing, not like the general
okay, but
I'm talking about Raven Smith. I'm talking about a branch pregame before.
Never, I'm about to say, never been to a party I didn't pregame.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, you know what?
Alcoholism is fun, kids.
I was going to say, especially if you like go out and stuff, it's cheaper.
I hope zero children that listen to this explicit podcast.
Yeah, I hope no kids listen to us. That would be devastating.
Oh my god, you're such terrible influences.
Could you imagine if orphans listen to us?
Dear God.
We're moving on.
Okay.
But I was going to say, one, especially if you're going out of bars and stuff, it's cheaper. Two, if you're like college and stuff, you like know what you're drinking, so like safety option is there.
Yep.
But yeah, so Prince, Christopher, and Cinderella see each other, and it's love at second sight.
Yeah, I love the sudden fall of silence as she arrives.
I was like, everyone didn't have to stop. Like, damn, like. There's other, like, men dancing with women, and they're, like, seem like they have a good time. It's like, oh, okay, maybe I won't end up with the prince, but everyone didn't have to, like, get out of their fucking way while they danced.
Campbell, does the king want to fuck Cinderella?
I was about to ask you... I was literally about to ask you. I have this note that I don't understand, and that comment is what it's about. I said, Max, that's gross.
He literally said, if I were a younger man, and Whoopi Goldberg's like, you would what? What?
Say it right now.
Say the rest of that sentence. And he's like, I would be younger. And she's like, correct.
Correct. She would, oh man, so great. I love their dynamic.
Oh my gosh. They're so fun together. Like and honestly, like they're both like I've seen them both in things by themselves. Like it would never occur to me to put them together, but like they're actually really great together.
They're just like such a fun juxtaposition
is a great
that's the wrong word. They both
antithesis?
No. Nothing related to that. I don't know why that's what my mouth was what that mouth
saying, doing. Correct.
They both exude royalty.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I love that.
Fully.
That was it.
Yeah.
nothing to do with differences.
No, I fully agree. Yeah, no, they both just do.
And so then everyone's like, something's like kind of familiar going on here, and the stepmother's just like, this like seems familiar, which we know that every character in any Cinderella media, film, movie, TV show, they all have face blindness.
Fully. Which what is the name for that medical condition? It's like porphyria something. Prosopagnosia.
Oh.
Is the medical term for that.
Nice.
It's a neurological disorder characterized by the inability to recognize faces.
So, we get to 10 minutes ago, which is such a sweet song.
I love the melody of the song. That,
Such a good Prince singing voice.
Such a good Prince singing voice. And, like, I don't know the name, if there's like a musical theory term associated with this, but like that's sort of
we should
like
take a music theory class.
We should. I haven't studied music theory officially since like high school, and I feel like I would really like it.
Yeah, same.
But that sort of like rising, repeating melody that he does for the like refrain, I really love any sort of song that has that. It just like I don't know, I just really like that. This song is really, really cool. I love how the cinematography of this, so this is like a waltz. And I love how the cinematography
I wrote down, I'm a sucker
scene,
for a waltz.
I'm a sucker for a waltz.
Waltz number
and
2,
I love how,
Dmitri Shostakovich, favorite classical musical piece. Despite his questionable politics, it's a great composed piece.
So one of the things I really love about this scene, among many, many other things, is how the cinematography mimics like the dizzying feeling of falling in love, where they are centered at all times, but the camera and the surroundings are constantly spinning, but they are locked on each other.
It's like on the playground, you know those like those like things on the
yes,
playground.
I know
where
exactly
there's
what you're talking about, but keep describing
and there's kind of like the S curve pole that people could spin you. It's that, but romantically.
Yes.
Those are the best things on the
I'm
playground.
right here with you.
Those are the best fucking things on the playground. And listeners, if you disagree, fucking at me. At Boozicles, BOOZICLS on Instagram. Or you can email us at boozicles@gmail.com.
Love that. I want to talk about why we love a waltz so
Sex,
much.
baby.
And specifically in this scene, I love the fact that it's a waltz. One, because it fits the environment. Like a waltz is always good for a ballroom scene like this. But also, waltzes specifically
sway you in a direction.
3/4 key signature is great for
time signature.
when you time signature. Sorry, yes, 3/4 time signature is great for when you want something to feel like it's kind of quickening a little bit, because that the lack of the fourth beat, like it feels like you're going to the next measure faster, which like you literally are. But like especially a quick waltz like this scene has, as it's like speeding up, it feels like your heart is racing. Yeah, and it's like fast and exciting, and it feels like your heart is racing along with the music, but it's like it's manageable. Like it's you're able to keep up with it, but only just. Yeah. And I love that.
I do too.
Yeah.
And it's why I love a waltz. I love a waltz.
Waltzes are just great. I love waltzes.
Also, a lot of times they're spooky, so that's another aspect I like of them.
3/4 time signature, like there's
a
so
picture of
much
my
music
coffin?
in the world that is 4/4 that like 3/4 is just great.
I agree. So yeah, this 10 minutes ago, what the song's about is basically like kind of like my life started when I saw you.
Yeah, but in like not a super creepy way.
No.
Just
because,
like that.
No, it's romantic because they're both attracted to each other.
Yeah, and like these people, and this is why, like I said, I really like the fact that they had met before, and we've established that they are compatible souls in a way, but just like here, like they're meeting again and they feel familiar to each other, but they just don't know why. And I like that aspect to it, because they're both seeing each other in an element that they have not previously seen each other. So it's like that compatibility and that connection is still there. they just don't quite know why this feels so familiar. And I think that works a lot better toward building their love story than like standard, quote unquote, standard tellings of the Cinderella story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they sneak off on their own, and they're like walking through like the garden and stuff like that. And we see the stepsisters are hiding in the bushes.
This is something that's really fun that like I haven't really seen. The song is called Stepsisters Lament. I haven't seen a jovial lament before.
It's so jovial. Great use of the word jovial,
Thanks.
by the way. I haven't heard that word in a while.
I love this song. It's just like, yeah, she may be beautiful, but she's also the most gorgeous person I've seen on earth. What of it?
She's only as dainty as a daisy. Her neck is only as long as, like, they're literally complimenting her and just being like, but like, she's not that great.
Yeah.
But one of the things I love, their voices in this song are like perfectly nasal. You know what I mean? Like it's the exact level of nasal to like be that almost annoying, but like not actually be annoying.
But when they're like on top of each other though, it's like nasal belting. Like it's not quite nasal anymore. It's just kind of like a good grating. Grating is like usually, you know, a connotation of like bad.
It's usually bad, but like,
but it's like it's a more comical textured when they're overlapping each other.
Yeah, and it's especially important because I think Cinderella, I keep just calling her Brandy in my mind, but Cinderella and the prince, their voices again have such a rich sort of silky texture to them that what's the word? Pair or complement. They complement each other's voices so well. And so especially
in a rich way.
In a rich way, yes. So the stepsisters' voices, and specifically being like this nasal sort of texture, this comedic sort of texture, perfectly goes against that. It perfectly like is the opposite of that in a way that makes them stand out without while like highlighting them still. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like with the prince and Cinderella, it's when two voices go very well together and it like fills in space. Their voices go well together that it creates space.
Campbell, yes.
Thanks.
Yes. You're so smart.
Bam, bam,
Love
bam.
Love it.
Crushed it.
Yeah, so their song is basically, it's super funny. Anytime they're here, they're just adding like comic relief, but in a way that like
they call her Minerva calls her a frothy little bubble. I was just like, ooh, this is your sister.
Some of their lines, she straight up was just like, I want to kill her. Like it's just
that's better than calling her a frothy little bubble. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I love it.
It's not for me.
So then we go back and we see that Cinderella and the prince rejoin the ball.
Kind of pairing, like, you know, separating partners and stuff. Dances with the king, who's, like, borderline creepy.
Borderline creepy, but, like, he reins it in a little bit. And the
then
prince is back with his mother.
The queen interrogates her.
Yeah. And she's like, you thought you wouldn't find the girl of your dreams tonight. And I was like, well, technically, he didn't find her tonight. They have met before, and he just doesn't know that.
Tonight. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So yeah, the queen is like, who's your mother? Who's your father? Are they here? I must meet them. And Cinderella's like, I gotta go. She's just like, it gets back to, wait, I am a commoner. This would never work. My mother, quote unquote, is a
abusive, horrible person.
Yes.
My father is dead. Which, like, I don't know why she couldn't just say that. Well, so, like, I understand why she wouldn't want to say that, but, like, yeah.
So she goes outside. It's not midnight yet, but she wants to leave. She tells the fairy godmother, and the fairy godmother was like, shut up. No.
She's like, bitch.
And, like, she was like, the prince is not going to be into all of this. And then, like, the prince is there, and they were talking. It's like, no, you understand what I want. It's like, oh, I know what I should be. You're a prince. I should be a servant to you. And he's like, I have servants. That's like not what this is
he's like,
about.
I want someone that I can share my life with.
I want to be my real self with you. And we get into the song, Do I Love You Because You're Beautiful? Which is a really... It's, again, one of those songs where it's sung from a different perspective, sees, like, you know, a different take on it with the similar lyrics. But I also think this is... I don't know. It's important to think about. Are you beautiful as I see you? Or, like, do I think you're beautiful because I think you're beautiful? Or are you beautiful because I like you? Like, are you beautiful to me?
Yeah, and I like this because...
Oh, damn.
One, I appreciate that there's at least a nanogram of a reality check in this movie.
Yes.
But also it's like, so often, especially in these old fairy tales like Cinderella, it's so often the story of like, oh, she's so beautiful, I love her. And it's like, okay, well, do I love you just because you're beautiful? Or do you seem beautiful to me because I love you?
I appreciate that Cinderella brings up, though, it's like, hey, maybe you're imagining me. Or like, are you in love with me? Or do you like me? Or do you like the idea of me?
The idea of me, which is a legitimately important thing to consider, because when you first get to know someone, like, it is the idea of them that you have in your mind. And a lot of times where relationships go awry is that once you meet the person that person actually is, and they're not the ideal that you had in your head, it's hard to reconcile that. And there has to be an understanding of, like, that was an image of you that I had in my head when I didn't truly know who you were. Like, we're all just people, just living our lives, just trying to, most of us, just trying to be our best. And sometimes, like, we will have these images of each other, and it's important to recognize, like, am I living in reality right now? Like, am I actually honoring who you truly are? And I respect the fact that they included that in basically a children's movie. Like, even the idea of that, I love that.
And I think it can be encapsulated by the last lyric of the song. Are you the sweet invention of a lover's dream, or are you as wonderful as you seem?
Yeah.
And then they kiss, and then when I was watching this, I just heard from behind me, my boyfriend says, as they're kissing, slut. So that's fun.
Oh my god.
So that's fun.
Oh, I love him. Then midnight strikes. And she runs away.
And they're like, Chris, do not let her get away. Okay, and so this is the point where I do have a problem with Cinderella. Just like as a concept. Okay, so here the pumpkin's a pumpkin. The mice are nowhere to be seen. I guess they ran off with the horses and stuff because they're like, oh no, still mice. Yeah. But especially their pets. Okay, the glass slipper remains. So, stay with me.
Why doesn't it transform back?
If she were to disrobe before midnight, set it down somewhere, it's past midnight, would it remain the same and then she could just put it back on? Was the fact she was wearing it made it change back?
I have no answer for you because...
She left a glass slipper,
quite honest,
and then she was still wearing the stuff, stroke at midnight, changed back, didn't have one of her shoes. It was still a glass slipper, and she wasn't wearing it. Was the fact that she was not wearing it important?
I didn't have quite the same thought. Like, I didn't have the thought of, like, what if she disrobed
Makes
entirely?
sense, because you're sane.
Mm-hmm. But I was confused. I was like, why is it that the act of the shoe being off of her foot made it remain as a glass slipper? Because they make a point of, as she's running away, you do see the shoe that is remaining on her foot, and it is no longer a glass slipper.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
It's like a Doc Marten or something like that. Like,
it's not. But I will say the slippers she's wearing at the end, I want them. They look They look worn in, comfortable.
Ooh.
Love them.
I love a worn-in slipper, like a house shoe. Ooh, love it.
So she runs away, and then there's a quick reprise, like finishing this song, and they're like close up of their faces that remind me of that one SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob and I was gonna say Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs are singing to each other, like this grill is not a grill. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay.
So the glass slipper remains.
She heads back home.
Gets back home. Her family gets back home. And she was like, oh, how was the ball? And they're like, it was a perfect night. Yeah, everything went so well for us. I had an hour with them. They're just liars.
Lying. And then she's like, did you know everyone there? And she's like, yeah,
Girl,
for the
shut
most part. Except for this one bitch.
Some princess. And she was like, oh, interesting. It's like, oh, was she with the prince a lot? I didn't notice. And we get to the song A Lovely Night. And, like, she was like, well, I imagined I was at the ball. And I was like, really? You even know what it's like? And she was like... You
even know what it's
well,
like.
Well, I imagine this grand...
There's a grand staircase and, like, all this other stuff. And, like, basically describing the ballroom in exact detail.
Suppose.
And they're just like, how could you have known that if you weren't there? She's like, well, I'm just imagining. Like, I couldn't possibly have been there.
And talking, like, the discussion we had earlier about, like, stepsisters and being, like, villainous or not. In this song, they're having fun together as sisters.
They're having so much fun together. And, like, it's, I don't know, it's really cool because you see that, like, there could be a relationship between them. Like, I don't know, I love Cinderella stories where the stepsisters aren't just evil people, because it's like, I don't know, I feel like that's often not how family dynamics work, you know? It's just like, even if you have an overall positive relationship with someone, there are still negative points here and there. And even if you have an overall negative relationship with someone, there's still positive points here and there. And I love the fact that we're able to see them at some point just kind of like being sisters.
Yeah, and they're just being like kind of like, you know, sharing like dreamy and wondrous and silly together. And it's like when Brandy is singing, it's very like elegant and stuff. But when the stepsisters and the stepmother come in, it's definitely more comical.
Yes.
With the background music.
But again,
it's kind of jazzy, kind of like Dixieland.
But they do a great job, and I don't know how they achieve this, but like they do a great job of not making it feel tonally dissonant. Like, it still feels coherent, and it still feels like this is a singular story, as opposed to, like, some films that try to have both the serious and the comical, and it ends up just being a mess.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
And then, like, the stepmother has enough. It's like, go to bed, don't listen to her, she's filling your head with nonsense. And then Cinderella's...
Also, there's a point where I think she does start to suspect that Cinderella was there somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And then gets to a point where Cinderella stands up for herself. It's like, why is it so hard for you to imagine me being there, being happy?
Yeah.
And then she says, your mom's a hoe. Like, your mother's common, so you'll always be common. It was like, my father didn't think that. Your father was weak and dead. May I remind you?
God damn. Like, but here's my thing. At one point, she was married to her father. So it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's just like, so...
Like, what the
harsh.
Fuck? It's so fucked up.
She straight up is just like, your mother was common. She was just some common bitch. Like...
And so, like, why did the stepmother marry her dad? Was, like, her dad not common?
Like, was he a noble that married a commoner? Because if so, that's literally the situation we're talking about right now.
I mean, pot, kettle.
Facts. Facts, no printer.
And
you're welcome.
Solid. Great. Raven, no notes. No notes. Solid banter right there. So then she goes outside and is like, pretty much like, you know, talking to her dad. It's like
praise to her dad.
I know I promised you I'd stay with the family, but like
they
different.
suck.
They suck. She's not what you thought she was.
I'm being literally abused.
And she like, we get to like, she finishes like a reprise, I guess, of A Lovely Night.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like there are a couple times in the movie that like they take a break from the song for a scene and then they go back to the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an non-lyrical interlude.
Yeah. Yeah, that could work. Yeah.
So then the fairy godmother gets there, is like, why'd you let him get away? She's like, go to him. And she was like, he didn't like you for your fancy gown or pretty braids. Like, No.
He likes you for you.
So anyway, Cinderella. Okay, so this scene, all you need to know is that the fairy godmother sings "She Likes Me for Me" to Cinderella by Blessed Union of Souls.
Yes. That's exactly what happens, for sure.
Believe in yourself. So then we find that Prince Christopher's up all night. He was like, hey, why don't we, like, find the foot this matches with? And this is where I have the problem with the blind casting. Yes. And, like, the part of the story.
Yep, because we probably wrote down the same thing.
Why are you trying shoes on these white bitches' feet?
I literally wrote, like, okay, but, like, I feel like there's a very easy way to substantially narrow this down.
Narrow the pool of suitors.
Like, I feel like your pool goes from, like, 1,000 to, like, 5.
This is where we see Prince Christopher gets into toxic activism. He doesn't see color.
I don't see color.
He doesn't see race. I don't care if you're blue, purple, black. I don't care.
Oh my gosh, I literally had to explain to someone recently why that is still offensive. Because I'm just like, hey, purple people don't exist, but I do. And I would like to be treated like a person. Yeah. Thanks.
Which Brandy says at the very beginning of the film.
Facts. Like, women, fun fact, women are just people. Wild, I know. But, like, get on board.
Yeah, so he goes around town.
Yeah, so he keeps trying on shoes on all these white bitches.
I will say, in this version, I think it's like a fun bit, like after it doesn't fit the stepsisters.
Yeah.
It fits
they
the
don't
stepmothers.
Cut off their heels and toes.
Yeah, but it fit the stepmothers. At first I was like, this is a fun twist.
But then it was cutting off her circulation, and they had to do the whole, like, tug-of-war thing. That was fun. I liked that. That was cool.
It's fun. I love that they were good just, like, physical humor in this film.
Are there any younger women? And she's like, young how? They're like, younger than you.
Young how?
Like, that's rude.
By age, time, rings of a tree.
Revolutions around the sun.
Finally, they find Brandy's trying to, like, get out of there.
Some of these girls, we see a whole line of girls waiting to try on the shoe. Only, like, half of them are wearing stockings, which is not hygienic.
This is potentially the 1600s.
I don't give a fuck. It's not hygienic.
Whatever.
Just saying.
And so we see that the prince sees Cinderella, and then we see kind of their banter. They both say kind of their banter from the beginning of the movie when he was pretending to be a commoner, and be like, "Wait a second, this is happening." Also, just I really like those royals.
I really love, one, that he recognizes her before actually putting the shoe on. Because that's always been my issue, is that, like, if you truly saw this woman at the ball, you would just recognize her when you saw her. And so I like the fact that, like,
I know she had blue eyeshadow, but that's not that different.
Like, she's walking away, and he, like, runs outside, and he sees her, and he does recognize her. And, like, putting the shoe on is just the confirmation, but, like, they have that banter, and they have that conversation as soon as he sees her. Yeah, and I really like that. Also, Bernadette Peters, her voice acting in this scene...
It's so good.
Is amazing.
Also, when they put the slipper on Brandy, did you see Brandy's slippers? They look so comfy.
No.
They look so comfy. Go back and watch
I guess I wasn't paying attention.
I want them.
I love that.
Okay, so they kiss.
Yes.
Impossible things are happening every day. Magic them into a wedding, garb to their wedding day. And we get into the song, There Is Music in You. Okay, here's the thing.
No notes. I have no notes.
I have one note, and there's nothing to do with Whitney Houston. So may I say it? Okay.
Yes.
I am treading lightly. Foodly-dee, fiddly-doo. I have something that I want to tell you. Okay.
Amazing. Bars.
This song is good because the music's in you. It's just like believe in yourself. Like the confidence you needed and what you want to do is there all along. Dreaming can only take you so far. You have to do the work. Love
Yes.
that. The Last Shot. With Whitney Houston flying up above. Rest in peace. Mm-hmm. Where she's basically a Christmas tree topper to this claymation castle. Could you describe something more 90s?
More 90s?
And you're not allowed to talk about Saved by the Bell.
Oh, jeez.
In that case, no. It's like the special effects there, I was just like, come on.
The only other thing I can say is JTT's hairstyle. Only thing that comes to mind.
JTT. Yeah, John.
JTT.
Yeah, not JT. Yep,
Not
I
JT.
gotcha. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Which
the
there
voice
was
of
a
young
guy-
Simba.
Yes. When we were working on a
Right?
COVID project back during yes, I believe so. Yes. When we were working on a COVID project back during 2020, there was this one guy I was working with that like literally had that hairstyle, and I was just like, I haven't seen that in like.
I have a friend in
20
grad
years.
school that has that hairstyle. It looks. He has great hair.
It's not bad.
And honestly,
like,
when you have
he had
great
good
hair, flaunt it. It should like
It works.
flow.
It works. It was just like, oh my god, I haven't seen that hairstyle in like 20 years.
Yeah. So then, Finn.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of the film.
So
what you got for me, Raven? That's the end of my notes.
I have a lot of notes. So, Rodgers and Hammerstein, this musical is by this particular variant of Cinderella with these particular musical numbers is by Rodgers and Hammerstein. So I have a couple of notes on Rodgers and Hammerstein as a duo, and then a couple of notes on them individually, and then a few notes on the reception, and then I have a discussion question. So this is going to be a little bit of a process. So Rodgers and Hammerstein, they were a theater writing team that are well known for like ushering in the golden era of musical theater, specifically like American musical theater and American opera in the 40s and 50s. So a lot of the like major quote unquote like American musicals that we know today. So like Oklahoma,
kind of like the post Gershwin era.
Yeah, exactly. The post-Gershwin era. Oklahoma, South Pacific, Carousel, The King and I, The Sound of Music, all of those were Rodgers and Hammerstein. Together as a duo, their works won 34 Tony Awards, 15 Oscars, 2 Pulitzer Prizes, and 2 Grammy Awards. Like,
shut up.
Truly,
See, like that's a lot, but at the same time, not enough.
right? Like, truly an iconic duo. So they were composed of Richard Rodgers, who is a composer, songwriter, and playwright, and Oscar Hammerstein II, who is a lyricist, librettist, theatrical producer, and director. Although a lot of his director roles are actually uncredited, which I find interesting. So Richard Rodgers, he is credited individually with 43 Broadway musicals and over 900 songs. He, in the 20s and 30s, before he paired with Oscar Hammerstein, he actually worked a lot with Lorenzo Hart, who is a lyricist, or Lorenz Hart, my apologies, who is a lyricist, and they performed a lot of works together, but then when he got with Oscar Hammerstein, it just like, their works just blew up. And fun fact, and this is where we come back to 30 Rock and Whoopi Goldberg's episode, Richard Rodgers is the first person ever to EGOT.
That's fun.
Yeah. Oscar Hammerstein II, he himself has been he has won individually 8 Tonys and 2 Oscars. He is credited with co-writing 850 songs. And he's known for specifically popularizing, his work with Richard Rodgers, but he's known for specifically popularizing musicals, focusing on stories and character rather than just lighthearted entertainment, which is originally what comic operas and specifically musical theater was known for. Yeah. So like if you think back to Pirates of Penzance, it's really great entertainment, but there's not a lot of like character development and character like exploration, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas like here, we actually learn a lot about like who Cinderella is and like what she wants from life. And the same thing with the prince. Like we learn a lot about like what they are looking for and why, what their values are and why they are compatible as people. So that's what Rodgers and Hammerstein were kind of known for, and how that ushered in the sort of golden age of musical theater. So he actually advocated a lot for writers' rights, and ended up like working with the board of directors and like serving on the board of directors for like different nonprofits, specifically for like the Writers Guild. And I've mentioned this before when we've talked about like Stephen Sondheim and Lin-Manuel Miranda, but he directly mentored Stephen Sondheim and helped him develop his talent, who then went on to mentor Jonathan Larson and Lin-Manuel Miranda. So like there is a direct linkage.
Listen to our Tick
theater
Tick Boom
talent.
episode.
Oh my god! Like the lineage of musical theater composers ushered in from Oscar Hammerstein, like that lineage downward in terms of mentorship, is just like. Just seeing the development of that throughout American history and how that's shaped so much of our culture. Like Rodgers and Hammerstein, their music and their works, you cannot deny the impact that it's had on American musical culture, both on and off the stage. So like I just think that there is so much there to honestly just respect in the work that they've done in developing how we think of musical theater today, and the likes of Howard Ashman, again, Jonathan Larson, Stephen Sondheim, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like individuals that have had even more undeniable impact. And like I cannot wait to see like where that takes us in the future, you know?
Yeah. So
talking a little bit about how this film was received, it had some mixed reception,
Yes.
So I'm not going to talk about some of the negative reception because I strongly disagree with a lot of it, although we can go over some of them. I'm just like, you salty. But
oh, you're racist.
In a lot of cases, yes. But so during the screening, there's actually a note that like it felt more like a standard Broadway play, because literally during the initial screening of this film, the audience literally applauded after every musical number because they were that great.
That's weird.
It is weird, but they did it anyway.
I disagree with that, and I like this.
But yeah, it received a ton of accolades. So it was nominated for like 7 Emmy Awards, and it was actually the 13th most nominated program at the 1998 Primetime Emmy Awards. And it also won like an Art Directors Guild Award for excellence, like production design. It was nominated for a Writers Guild of Writers Guild of America Award for Best Children's Script, and also was nominated for 3 NAACP Image Awards, including Outstanding Television Movie, Miniseries, or Dramatic Special. And then Brandy and Whoopi Goldberg were both nominated for an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Television Movie or Miniseries, which all make perfect sense because this is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
So, like, were there some parts that didn't work? Sure, yeah, that's going to happen. But overall, like, I think this is probably my favorite film adaptation of Cinderella, like, ever. Besides Ella Enchanted.
I do like some of the songs from the original Cinderella. Like, A Dream is Dream, Your Heart Made. Like, some of the songs.
That's just a classic.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, like, classic Disney. And I like some of the... I love Gus Gus. But like as a
holistic film,
I think they're comparable.
Correct. I agree. And in my opinion, it's the correct one.
Yeah.
So.
Correct.
Okay. So Campbell, I'm about to go grab my violin. I see you have your clarinet out and ready.
I wasn't originally going to play clarinet.
What are we playing? Because I truly have no idea.
I was going to play the bassoon, but like I'm in like a chair has like armrests, And for like my
and that does not work for the
bassoon, no, because I have a seat rest and like I won't be able to like have it like right next to me. But there's stuff on my armless chair and I'm drunk and lazy. So while we were recording, I changed shit up so the clarinet could work for it. But we
honestly,
will be playing...
I respect that.
Thanks. We will be playing Impossible. It's Possible with Raven having the melody on the violin, and I got the bass part. It's supposed to be on the bassoon, but I was like, fuck that. Let's play on the clarinet.
Love that.
Cool. Burp.
Cool. Burp. Hey everyone! In addition to our other nonprofit partners, I would like to do a quick plug for the Daddario Foundation. The Daddario Foundation is a nonprofit grant-making organization that provides monetary and product support to high-quality music instruction programs on the front line to improve access to music education. And every single cent raised goes directly to getting kids involved in community music programs, acquiring and maintaining instruments, providing college scholarships, and supporting new innovations in music education across 41 U.S. states and 189 cities. They accept monetary donations, of course, but also instruments. So if you have an old instrument that you no longer use, please consider donating it to the Daddario Foundation, where they can get it into the hands of a student in need. However you're able to contribute, you can go to daddariofoundation.org/about/donate. That is Daddario Foundation, DADDARIO, foundation.org/about/donate. Now please enjoy the sultry sounds of me and Campbell destroying music. I think we got a little off, and I think you had to compensate for me, but ultimately, I think we did fine.
I think we did fine for one take. You don't like to count rest.
It's hard.
But that's what we're doing. That's it. That's all she wrote.
That was fun.
That was fun. It is a fun song.
I was nervous, and I didn't get it quite right. But
it seems like a good, fun to play. Like fiddle style song, you know?
Yeah, it is type of song that like you can kind of just like go at.
Yeah,
you know.
That's what I was going for. But question for you, Raven: how would you rate this musical on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm feeling an 8 out of 10. Like, there's a couple things that could definitely be improved upon, but ultimately, I really like this version of Cinderella. I do like the themes and like the way they update like the character itself, and of course the colorblind casting. Like the comedy is spot on. Rodgers and Hammerstein, their music is fantastic. Like, honestly, other than effects and like a couple of beats here and there, I think it's a great film. So I'm going to say 8 out of 10.
I'm going to say 7 out of 10 because I do feel like a lot of times, because we love everyone in this so much, we did originally have some criticisms for the acting in like specific parts. And so I would just like dock another point for that. So that's because of that, I would say 7 out of 10. But I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Agreed. So, Campbell,
yes.
A question for you.
Moi.
Because when we first discussed potentially doing Cinderella, both of us immediately were like, well, obviously we'll do the brandy version. Like, that's not even a question. And I guess, like, aside from it just being like a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, what in your mind... or why, I suppose, in your mind, does this version stand apart from all others? I
mean, I think Rodgers Hammerstein, that part, like, definitely sticks out. But I will say the connection to, like, vocal talent is, like, something that I always, like, look back on. Especially when we were talking about, like, how well different voices melded together in very different ways. Because say like the original Cinderella, which I like, it's good. How many people sing in that?
Yeah.
It's like mice and Cinderella.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's definitely a lost opportunity for some of like the other like characters. I really like my musicals to be even like, you know, very pivotal, important characters to like our main characters or protagonists for them to interact with each other like musically. That's not really seen in a lot of different like Cinderellas. The ones that I recognize, barring the most recent one. But I think this one does a really good job of that. And I think when I was just, I don't know, just like growing up, like I saw this one on TV and I was just like, immediately I was like, oh yeah, this is Cinderella. But it felt like it was Cinderella with more music I could connect to. Is something I felt as a child that like has carried me like into adulthood. So I think that's why.
I agree with that. I think for me, the music, like I mentioned earlier, how the music is a little conversational, not to the degree that like you'll see in Sondheim musicals like Sweeney Todd and stuff like that. But again, like Sweeney Todd was mentored by Oscar Hammerstein. Hammerstein.
But that's also how you see like different like aspects of musicals. People putting their own take on them and like that direct influence. Like evolving and like branching out into like awesome ways. Exactly.
And how like each of the songs of this musical, I think, resonate because they are very much a part of the story. Like falling in love with love. Like it is literally a continuation of the conversation the characters were already having. And yet if you took that song stand alone, it can still resonate with you. Yeah. And I think like that aspect to musicals is what can make them beautiful. And I think like that is what makes this form of theater and this form of art so impactful for people. And for me, like honestly, the colorblind casting was huge for me in this version because as a young Black woman, I grew up with like my mother would only allow us to have Black dolls, like Black Barbie dolls, Black baby dolls. Like we had our wallpaper, like we had like the little banner that was like the Black Barbie, like ribbon and everything like that, and like our comforter was like the Black Barbie comforter. And like to be able to see a Black girl like portraying Cinderella, like this iconic fairy tale character, and the fairy godmother again played by like Whitney Houston, another like iconic Black female actress, I think it feels like it resonates a little bit more. Like even just like them allowing them to be true to their style, and like even just seeing Brandy with braids in this movie instead of straightened hair, that's a huge thing for me. And I think like a lot of people that disparage like the notion of representation, which is a wild thing, but a lot of people that disparage the notion of representation, it's like it can literally be the smallest things that a person can connect to. And while, there's still a ways for us to go as a society and as a culture, but I think this movie, for me, and I hope for other people, can represent, like, even just a stepping stone in that direction. And I think it being something like Cinderella, which is, like, a story that everyone, like, in Western civilization, pretty much everyone knows. And it's something that, like, everyone can kind of connect to. And they really made an attempt to, modernize it a bit and, like, make the themes a bit more relatable. But I think the combination of the Rodgers and Hammerstein music and how instrumental their work was for generations of Americans, on top of the use of actors like Brandy, like Whitney Houston, like Bernadette Peters, like Whoopi Goldberg, like all of these iconic characters. It just, I don't know, it feels like magic, and I just feel really like does. It's so much more impactful than so many other versions of Cinderella that at least I've seen.
And it's like, I feel what this does a good job of as a medium, as a musicals to like a lot of like adults, but especially children. I think this in particular does a really good job of, I don't know if this is the right way to say it. Sorry, had a speech impediment. But so accurately and like flawlessly be able to deliver personhood through an easily consumable format.
Yes.
Personhood being like, all people.
Yeah, and I think, like, that little bit of subtlety, like, Rodgers and Hammerstein, again, like, I mentioned this earlier, but Rodgers and Hammerstein, like, were the reason their musicals and their theater was so impactful for American musical theater was because they were focusing on stories and characters rather than just the entertainment. Yeah. And so they were actually making an effort to develop the character as a person. And so to see, again, like, Black people inhabit that same character and that same level of personhood is, like, I don't think a lot of people understand, like, how pivotal that can feel, especially for 1997. Like, goddamn, we still wouldn't have our first Black president for like 11 years. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know, like, there's still so many firsts for Black people, and I think a lot of times we focus on the, like, you know, we're hopefully about to have our first Black female Supreme Court justice.
There's no way it's not going to happen.
I hope.
Yep.
But yeah, like, there's so many Black firsts, and I feel like a lot of times we focus on, like, the quote unquote politically relevant or the quote unquote historically relevant, but, like, to me it is crucial that Brandy was the first Black Cinderella on screen. And, like, as a little girl, like, as a child, you're not thinking about the first Black Supreme Court justice, the first Black Secretary of State. You're thinking about what's accessible to you, and it's so important.
This could be me.
It's so important for young children, regardless of identity, race, ethnicity, gender identity, anything, to see themselves represented and to understand, like, I can do that. I can be that. That is accessible for me. And I think, like, the beauty of things like colorblind casting and their willingness to really explore that in 1997 is so impactful. And I just really love this version of Cinderella because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And flip it back on you with a question. Where could you find us, and how can you easily support us?
That is a fantastic question. You can find us in so many places. Anywhere that podcasts can be found. So places like Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Of course, like, bigger platforms like Spotify that supports podcasts. You can find us. If you find us and you like this episode, we hope that you like us, that you comment. If you have the capability on whatever platform you're using, please rate us 5 stars if you feel, if that's how you feel. If you have any questions or comments or recommendations for other musicals for us to look at, you can email us at boozicles@gmail.com. You can message us or follow us on Instagram at boozicles, BOOZICALS. And as far as how you can support us, we really want to support musical education and ensure that musical education is being offered to students of all identities and all socioeconomic backgrounds, regardless of where they live or what experiences or backgrounds they've had. So organizations like Education Through Music, that has a large presence in New York City, organizations like Mr. Holland's Opus or the Dario Foundation, we have a couple of ads for those, but any music education group that is focused on providing those services for young children and making sure that music education is available to anyone regardless of their background or where they come from, that is critical to us, and that is critical to our mission and our goal as podcasters. So supporting music education however you are able to, that is how you can support us as individuals as well as us as a podcast. And we hope that you choose to do so.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything,
Bye
but
bye.
I just did like the deuces, and that's how we were going to end it. But then I felt like I need to say something because like this is an audio medium, and like I feel like while I was explaining, your future Raven's going to have the music coming and just kind of like, cut me off. But like I'm still going to be. Okay, well I'm excited. Okay, bye, Raven. Yeah, okay, whatever.